back corner when I'm not presenting.
Listening in.
And listen in.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Bash University Live here on Tuesday night.
Take a quick break. Watch John Cruz's on the Tokyo rig.
Be a part of the show. Get some chances to win some awesome prizes.
Just Bash You Go. You know, we didn't have that back then. And dude, it can just...
That text thread gives me so much energy. I mean, like I'm dialed. Welcome to Bash You Live. We are live tonight, and I am your host, Justin Kimmel, the professional fish head for the Bash University. And before you leave, because you've probably figured out by now that we are without our host, Pete Blusek, for the night. He has turned ill. We wish you the best, buddy. We hope you get better. But I'll be driving tonight. Guys, before you leave us, I'm telling you, you want to stay with us for this show. We've got our crew still here. We've got dominating victories. We've got controversy in the technological advances of bass fishing. We've got 60-pound bags of bass. Yeah, the best five, 60 pounds. We're bringing on that. We've got complaining from the locals. We've got YouTube death threats to talk about. Guys, we've got amazing stuff tonight. We've got an amazing show. We're bringing on the winner of the Lake of the Ozarks Toyota Series Championship, Michael Harlan. 26 years old, and he dominated in the field. 15 pounds, or more than 15 pounds. And that's just over second place, guys. He dominated. We're bringing on Luke Duncan. The NPFL is kicking off tomorrow. We're going to find out about what's going on down there and how we can watch and follow along. And we're going to bring on Ben Milliken to talk about the trip that Luke and Ben were both a part of, where the A-rig, the main topic of tonight, umbrella rigs, where it just shocked the world. The bass fishing world is on fire. The A-rig is back on fire. We thought it was kind of dead and gone for a little while. Maybe we're wrong. Cannot wait to get into this, guys. As always, I see our producer, BTC, Brian the Carpenter. What's going on, man? Good to be here.
What's up, JK? How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man.
Yes, we are we're doing it. Look at us go.
Yeah, we're in. There's no turning back.
We
got our
running the
notes.
asylum tonight.
And Pete's watching, chattering his teeth right now, hoping we don't screw this up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited about tonight's show. We got, as always, running the IM board. We got Riz with us. Riz, what's going on, man?
You know, JK, I am jacked up excited for this one. Brian and I were talking a little bit before the show about the A-rig, and, you know, it's one of those things that I've kind of been ignoring for a few years, well, forever. And
all my life.
Yeah, all my life. I've been all my life. I never thrown the A-rig. But it's one of those things that's coming up now, and it's winning tournaments. And you know, we just had Shane LaHue in the Bash University seminars a few weeks ago, and he did an entire seminar on the A-rig, and that really opened my eyes up to the way this bait can be fished and the applications that you can use it. And you know, I'm excited to dig in on this one. I'm definitely going to pick the brain of Michael Harlan on how he's throwing this thing. So, you know, I mean, what can I say? This should be another great Bash U Live.
That's right, man. We've got a lot to get done. And without our leader here to keep us on time, I'm going to try to keep us there, guys. But Riz, what do we want our guys to know tonight?
Yeah, for sure. As always, we are going to be hooking people up with some awesome prizes. I got a bunch of stuff laid out here in front of me. We got stuff from TH Marine, all of our other sponsors, Rapala, Bash University official gear. We got some Minn Kota Humminbird swag on the table. Anybody that gets a question into tonight's show and we use it on the air, we are going to be hooking you up with a prize, sending it out in the mail, and you're going to get your question answered on the show. So the deal with that is you have to be a Bash University TV subscriber. If you are not already subscribed, that's okay. Now is a great time to get involved in the program. If you sign up annually right now, we're hooking you up with 10% off the program, and we're giving you a $25 gift card to Tackle Warehouse. So we're going to give you more information about bass fishing. We're going to give you a gift card to Tackle Warehouse to go get the tackle and do it. There's no reason to wait. Get signed up. Be a part of tonight's show. Also, if you're watching over there on Facebook and you insist on just milling around over there, we are going to give you we're going to give you a shot to win a prize over there as well. Like and share tonight's feed, and you're going to be entered in for a chance to win $50 in Shane's Baits. And now, if you don't know, Shane's Baits are A-rigs that absolutely get it done. So, guys, like and share tonight's feed. Win yourself $50 worth of A-rigs. The grand prize tonight is going to be a TH Marine prize pack that's valued over $100. We'll dig into that a little bit more later when we got Luke Duncan on. I'm sure he'll have some insight on what's going on at TH Marine. But to win that $100 prize pack, you got to be a Bash U TV member. So go over, get signed up, take advantage of it now, and be a part of tonight's show. It's going to be a good one.
And that's awesome. I cannot wait to dive in. Sounds like we've got this thing kicked off here, BTC. Are we going to take a break?
Yeah, we'll hit our commercial break right now. So yeah, like you're saying, the A-rigs just absolutely dominated. What went on in Texas? You know, the Toyota event, the College Series, it's dynamite right now. So
yeah, it's bonkers right now.
We had no choice. We had to do it.
And shout out to Shane's Baits again. That guys are jumping in and helping us out with the prize pack tonight. They are literally one of the most popular rigs right now, and they're backed up. Shane himself has been making rigs, jumping in and making rigs the last 2 days, he said, and they're so busy, but they're so kind to give us a couple for tonight's giveaway on the Facebook like and share. And can't wait to get into more of this.
Right. And guys, you know, beyond everything else that I just said and I talked about, when you sign up for Bash U TV, you also get a ton of member benefits, right? The juice is worth the squeeze when you get signed up. You got over 40% off on Rapala on all Rapala baits, 40% off on Flambeau, 30% off on Missile, 25% off Gill's gear, 15% off at Sea Clear Power. And also right now a new little addition we have. If you buy a cash and rod, you get $25 off your cash and rod as well, guys. So it literally pays to be a Bash U TV subscriber. I'm going to stop yapping now. Take the time when we go on this commercial, get signed up and join us. I want to hear from you on the message board.
That's awesome. Right. All right, let's do it. We'll be back in 3 minutes and 7 seconds.
Moment on the water not spent fishing is a moment wasted. That's why Minn Kota and Humminbird have joined forces to bring you the One Boat Network. Products that communicate and integrate to help you take full command of your boat. Born from our commitment to making the most advanced fishing gear even better by making it work together, the One Boat Network will help you find, get to, stay on, and catch more fish. When One Boat Network products talk to each other, they can navigate your boat automatically. They can give you a crystal clear view of what's below with no messy wires. And they can let you lower, raise, and change shallow water anchor modes from anywhere on the boat. But that's just the beginning. We're never done innovating, integrating, and making your boat simpler and easier to control. All so you can make every second on the water count.
Tackle Warehouse is proud to sponsor the FLW Pro Circuit and is the official tackle retailer of FLW, providing proven bass fishing gear as well as the newest and hottest tackle. Our friendly and knowledgeable customer service staff can help you every step of the way. And we offer free ground shipping on orders over $50. Tackle Warehouse, everything for the bass angler at the lowest prices. Guaranteed.
I have to be constantly on the lookout for new techniques to stay on the top of my game.
Giant.
Some have been more successful than others.
Giant.
The finesse fingernail.
Happens every time.
The chain gang.
Broke it off.
The crow's nest.
Never let go.
And don't even get me started on tackle management, especially trying to stop rust and corrosion. Peanut butter. Not good. Motor oil.
Gotta keep the rust off all these baits.
WD-40.
Gotta keep the rust off.
Silica, toothpicks, Q-tips, the list goes on and on. I'm hard on tackle, I fish fast, I need my tackle organized and protected. I can't be worrying about losing baits to rust. And when it comes to tackle management, there's only one solution. Flambeau Tackle Storage Systems with Z-Rust technology. The original anti-rust tackle box. Uncompromised clarity. Renowned durability. The infused anti-rust option that is FDA safe and free of harmful chemicals. The organization options are endless, but there's only one. One box, one anti-corrosion technology, one family-owned, American-made brand, Flambeau Z-Rust Tackle Solutions. Preserve, perform, repeat.
Moment on the water, not.
And we're back. And this time we've got our first guest, guys. I'm so excited to talk about this. He just won his second Major League Fishing tournament. I think he won the BFL on the Ozarks in 2019. He just won the Toyota Series Ozarks. He started day one with 22 pounds and took the lead, then backed it up with two more 20-pound bags when nobody else was catching 20-pound bags. A margin of victory of over 15 pounds. BTC, you know what that means? That's a 15-pound margin of victory on second place. That's like a lot more for the rest of the field. Probably, I don't know, 150 plus boats, I'm sure, in that event. Amazing wire-to-wire victory.
Yeah.
And at just 26 years old, man, it's super impressive.
Yeah, Rich, how old are you?
30.
Yeah, you beat Rich by 4 years and 7 pounds.
Probably
But
a few,
Michael,
probably a few G bars too in the prize money too.
that's right. I think $37,000 I saw. Pretty awesome. But Michael Harlan, Toyota Series champion. Congrats, man.
I appreciate it, man. It's a pleasure being on the show.
Awesome. Yeah, man. We're excited to watch that unfold for you. Wire to wire, you went out with a big lead and you did not disappoint. You basically put the hammer down and left the field in the dust, and we got to read about it. But now today we get to talk about it, we get to hear about it, and our guys get to hear about it, man. What's it like, man, going wire to wire like that? You're young, you know. I imagine you probably haven't fished these multi-day events too long.
Yeah, it's my third Toyota.
Okay, wow.
Third event, dude, and you already got a dub.
Yeah.
That's pretty outstanding.
And did you have any kind of a special feeling about this one? I know you're kind of from the region.
Yeah, growing up here and fishing here all the time, I kind of knew what would be going on. I thought I saw what I needed to see in practice. I had no idea that I was on 20 pounds a day. I thought I could catch like 12 to 15 a day, and that's about what we were anticipating it taking. And it really was.
Wow.
Other than what I ended up having, the rest of the field was about that 15 pounds a day.
Right.
But yeah, I had a weird feeling about it, man. That's the second time that's ever happened to me. I told a buddy of mine, my buddy Austin, the first time I won, that I thought I had a chance to win, and I actually did. I told him the same thing this time. We were standing in my house. The lake's like 100 yards from my house. And I pointed to him and said, man, I think I could win right there. I mean, right there. That's my exact words. And I ended up, that was one of my key spots, that in that same general area. It's weird, man. I don't know if it's just a fluke or what the deal was, but I felt it coming, I guess.
So wait a minute. You live on the lake, and one of your winning spots was right outside your window?
Eyesight. Yeah.
That's pretty incredible.
You won a Toyota Series event by catching your pets, man.
Dude, I'm going to tell you. So let me tell you a story real quick. I was in a borrowed boat this week. I'm waiting on my new Camus from Boatworks. I was in a borrowed boat. I've always ran Lowrance. and I'm running Garmin's this year, and the boat I was running had hummingbirds on it, and he also had a standalone live scope. I've never in my life ran hummingbirds. I had no waypoints, and I did not fish anything that I knew was there. I actually have never fished that creek. I pulled in there and practiced and found some stuff that I liked, and it ended up working out for me. But yeah, never used hummingbirds in my life, and never fished that spot. And I didn't fish anything that I knew was there.
At any point when you had like 20 in the boat, did you ever consider like walking up the hill and going to get breakfast, like get a fresh cup of coffee?
The cameraman's like, so what, on the last day, he's like, so what kind of pizza are you ordering? I was like, I don't know if I'm comfortable pulling a Timmy Horton, but it was, that was about noon on the last day.
Wow, man. So did you, basically this whole situation that you're in, uncomfortable with the electronics in the boat, no waypoints, you're on your home water, you're saying you're not catching them or didn't find them anywhere you've been in the past. Did you treat this like a new lake? What was your practice approach with this?
Man, like within an hour in practice, I think I kind of had an idea what I was going to be looking for. Just like staging areas before the fish go up to spawn, and I ran over a good spot like within an hour of practice. And so that just kind of led me down the rabbit hole looking for what I had found or saw those fish in. And that's what led me to the spots that I said I'd never fished before. I just, idled over them and saw what I thought was good spots. And I turned around and looked at them with the live scope. Garmin live scope was huge this week. I watched every fish bite, and you can see them. Almost all the fish I caught was out of brush, and I could see the individual fish in the brush piles. So wow. I knew when I was having a hard time seeing the fish on the hummingbirds when I was idling, but if I saw what I was looking for, I'd mark it, turn around, look in there with the Garmin, and usually you could tell if there's fish in there or not.
So brush piles, I hear that, but you mentioned you were focused on staging fish. Yeah. What does that look like? What kind of like water depth or kind of general area? And for those of us who don't know what the Lake of the Ozarks is made up of, what's a staging area?
So I was just looking for like that pit stop between the wintering holes and where they're going to spawn, and whether that's like off a break or on a flat or gravel points, rock points. It really didn't seem to matter a whole lot. You just kind of got a vision where they're going, those flatter areas where they're going to move up real shallow and spawn, and try and figure out where they've been spending the winter, and then spend your time in between there. I caught them anywhere from 6 or less foot to 22 foot. It really, wow. There wasn't a specific depth range. It was more about where that structure was located.
Okay, so you were literally shallow brush all the way out to 20 plus feet. Wow,
yeah, and not just brush. I caught them off of rock and structure, like, old foundations. All of that stuff was holding fish. It's just a stopping point, between where they've been living all winter and where they're going.
And did you feel like they were keyed in on bait fish or anything like that? Did you ever get a feel for that?
So I don't know if you guys know this or not, but like a week before the tournament, the lake was frozen like 6 inches thick. It had been frozen for like a month. We've had like the coldest weather we've had since 2011 or something. And the lake froze solid, and we didn't know if we were going to get to fish or not. And so there was a bad shad kill, like really, really, really bad. Big shad, little shad everywhere.
Wow.
And the areas that I spent a lot of time in, there wasn't a lot of shad kill. You didn't see them floating all over the place. And so it was good to find that bait for sure. You can't go wrong with that. But I don't think they're that bait related, honestly. It definitely helps, but I don't think it was, I don't think it was super bait related.
Okay. And now I want to get into just kind of your approach when you come up to these places, right? So you've located all your spots, your stopping points, your rock and your brush, and you've kind of located your game plan. How would you position on these fish? Because I know you said you saw every single fish bite on live scope.
Yep.
I don't think that there's got to be some kind of a plan of attack, right? Like, are you getting on the shallow side, or are you just out deep?
Yeah, the biggest factor with that is the way the wind's blowing. It's super hard to get a good lineup if you're perpendicular with the wind and the brush. You got to put the boat right into the wind between. The brush needs to be between you and the wind, so you can point directly at it and get your lineup. And that way, whenever the wind's blowing at you, if the brush is off to the side, you got to keep panning the trolling motor to keep yourself where you're at. If it's between you and the way the wind's blowing out of, you're not having to move that trolling motor much, and you can keep your bait and the brush within sight, the cone of the transducer. So you get to watch your bait all the way back. If you're, if it's off to the right or off to the left, you're having to constantly go back and forth. And if you've played with live scope at all, once the bait goes out of your sight, it's hard to find it again. Like a lot of the time when you're watching your bait come back, it's just fuzz, As it gets closer, you can see it good, but there's times where you can barely see that bait out there, and you have to keep it in eyesight, or else, you're going to be getting hung, or you're not able to interact with the fish at all. So, they may follow it, they may get spooky and turn around or whatever.
Wow. That definitely seems like that would be a big key, with facing into the wind so you can keep that bait in the column. I think you gave us a really good tip there. Do you find it hard casting into the wind like that the whole time? Or do you not get hit with some hard wind?
You don't got to cast near as far as you would think.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Half the time it was 20, 30 foot pitches. Yeah.
I'm used to these spotted bass lakes down here where you got to stay 100 feet away from them just to get them to bite. Well, I did not think about that. So you're 20 to 30 feet pitches with an A-rig?
I mean, that's not ideal, but you got to deal with what you got to deal with what you're dealt. If it's really windy, I'll pull my forward range back to 60 foot or 50 or 60 foot, because you're not going to make 80 foot, 90 foot cast into a 20 mile an hour wind with a A-rig, But now if it's slick calm, I'll push that range out further, out towards 80 or 100 and try and make longer casts, because then the boat's not moving and it's a lot easier to manage your stuff. But, ideally you do want to make a longer cast, but sometimes you just can't.
Yeah. So BTC, I don't know if you're hearing this. What I'm hearing is with this forward-facing sonar game, it seems like that is what's that's the determining factor for how we're approaching fish these days.
Yeah.
Like ridiculous. Making sure you get the control of the video game almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. I've got a lot to learn, man.
don't we all, who are not making the adjustment.
Michael, how long have you been using the forward-facing sonar?
So I've had it like a year and a half, and I've used it, but I haven't used it like I should be. I think like we fished a little tournament trail through the winter. It's the Bass and Bob Winter Series. It's a no A-rig tournament, but we got our butts kicked by my buddies Brad and Brock all winter long, and they're using live scope too. And
Brad,
I was like,
man, Brad,
I gotta learn.
Rinkemeyer and Jelnick.
Yep, that's them. They've been on the channel.
Yeah. They've been on.
They know what's up.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were whooping my butt, man. And I'm like, I got to get this thing figured out. And I took it down to Table Rock on that deep water. And me and my buddy Austin took it down to Table Rock, and we really figured it out a little bit better. And it's addicting, man. Once I started seeing those fish eat my bait, I was like, this is the deal. Like, if you're not working it right, you see the fish swim up to it, turn around and go back. Or, you can they do all different kinds of things. And when you're watching it the entire time, you really get to interact with the fish and figure out what they're wanting, how they're wanting it that day, whether you need to change your baits or your retrieve or whatever. So I've really only been truly using it for a month and a half, 2 months.
Wow. So did you catch all your fish on the A-rig? All 15 weigh fish?
No. I caught I think I weighed one on a jerk bait, but a lot of the time it was tough, and those fish up shallow would get out of the way of the A-rig. Like you could roll it through them and you could see it scare them, and you could throw a mega. I always throw a mega bass, but this is a mega bass Vision 110. It's Stain OB. Hank Cherry kind of spilled the beans on this one. When you win the classic, it gets a lot of attention, but that's always been one of my favorite colors. And I would throw that up there to those more shallow fish, and you could get them to bite. And I think I did weigh one fish on it. And I definitely had fish in the box. I started with like a 10-pound limit all 3 days. And that really helped with that. And when you put a limit in the boat, it really frees you up and lets you fish a lot more confidently and relaxed. So I did throw the jerkbait a lot early. And I had I'll tell you another story. I had a tree that I found in practice. Actually, I found it in the tournament when I was pulling up to a different brush pile. And it was loaded with fish, and it was crappies. And I really thought there was bass in there. But every time I would fish it, I'd catch a big crappie, like 14-inch crappie, big ones.
Wow.
And my cameraman started calling it, the guy that was following me, he starts calling it the crappie tree, the crappie hole. I'm like, man, I promise you there's bass in here. But every time I went there, I couldn't catch a bass. And the last day I had like 17, 18 pounds all day long. And I wanted to catch 20 so bad. And I pulled up to this tree, rolled the A-rig through there and caught a 4-pounder. I was like, man, I told you that there was bass in there. So, awesome. But yeah, I did catch a lot of fish on the jerkbait, but I think I might have weighed one.
Yeah, that's cool. So and we're seeing that go hand in hand in the pre-spawn late winter events where jerkbait bite and A-rig bite are kind of going on at the same time here. But I want to get back into your A-rig setup. Tell me like all the nuts and bolts from your reels, line, rod. I want to know what every part of this A-rig that you're doing.
Sure. And it's important, man. It's important to throw it on the right setup. And there's a lot of people that say they don't like throwing an A-rig. If you throw an A-rig on the right setup and the right equipment, it doesn't wear you out. You start out with throwing but when it first came out, everybody says, 7.6, 7.11 flipping stick and 65, 80-pound braid and a big giant like musky reel. And you don't have to do all that. I've really been dialing back my setup. I'm throwing a Shimano Corrado 200, 20-pound fluorocarbon. This is a FX Custom Rods 7.7 heavy. It's really not an A-rig design rod, but it's got a lot of tip. It's a super versatile rod, and it's got a ton of backbone. And that's important. You're not pulling the bait away from the fish with that light tip, but you do drive the hook home. And it allows you to get maximum action out of the bait. If you're using a super stiff rod, I don't feel like the bait acts right. So, this rod in particular, in my opinion, is absolutely perfect for throwing an A-rig up to like a 3.8-inch Kitech. I wouldn't go any bigger than that. But these FX Custom rods, they've got a full lineup, and they're fantastic rods. I actually have a discount code for $25 off that's good for 30 days. It's M Harlan 25, and you'll get $25 off an FX rod. That's kind of a new company. They've been around for about 3 or 4 years, I think, and they're really exploding. So it's a really good setup. Works great for throwing an A-rig, and man, you got to trust your equipment, and I trust these with my life. So I think I've got 4 or 5 of that exact setup, and I'll run 3 or 4 different A-rigs on the deck throughout the day, depending on the conditions. And with that, I'll roll into what I'm throwing. I saw that you're giving away a Shane's Baits A-rig this week or tonight.
Yeah, they're doing the like and share on the Facebook like and share.
I, no kidding, had a Shane's Baits A-rig just chilling right here. This is a bladeless version, and there's a couple reasons why I really like this rig in particular. The wires are super soft, and so when you're pulling that bait through the water, you get a lot of that pulsate action. And I think it's super natural. You don't want a real stiff wired A-rig. You want that flow, and it makes it look real natural to the fish. And I think it makes a difference on getting a couple extra bites. The wires actually are replaceable on this rig. So if you do break them, especially with them being soft, after so many fish, they're going to break. All A-rig wires are going to break, but you can get replacement blades for these for like $4 for the non-bladed version. I think it's like $7.50 for a set or 2 sets of bladed versions. So you can make your A-rig last way, way, way longer. And the other thing I like about this bait is the center wire here is longer than the rest of them compared to like a Flash Mob Junior. It's not much longer. And almost every fish is going to bite that middle bait with it being that much further back. Plus you got a swivel built in, and that's going to help you keep, eliminate line twist. So this one here, it's got weedless heads on it.
I noticed that.
With belly weighted hooks. I really don't like to use them if I don't have to, but sometimes the fish want that bait really close to the structure, whether it's rock or brush or standing timber. So you got to even hit it sometimes.
Wow.
And you don't hook as many fish, but you'd be surprised what your hookup ratio is. But this week the fish were they were kind of funny about it. They were having trouble committing it to it. I think I caught 3-4 pounders by the tail, like running up to it and swiping at it, and you feel them bite it, but it's them kicking it with their tail. And I ended up hooking 3 big ones by the tail and actually landed them in the tournament. And so I think I would have had trouble with the weedless heads for sure. But this is a Pro Blue Red Pearl Kitex and 3.8 inch. I was throwing those when it was a little sunnier. And when it was cloudier, I was throwing the 3.8 inch Kitex and French Pearl. And, it's an eye catcher for those fish when it's cloudy. I think that they want something a little more bold and that they're more willing to chase when it's cloudy. So they'll come a long way to eat the bright colored baits. So, and this is just a Flash Mob Junior 8 ounce heads. These are Crocagator heads. They make 2 versions of this head. One's a wire version, which is a lighter wire, and they make a standard. I personally roll with the standard. It's a little thicker and I can swing on fish a little bit harder. But if you're concerned about losing A-rigs, you can go with the light wire version and, bend them out if you get hung up. And you can use MH21 on Crocagator's website and get 15% off site wide. So that's cool. They make awesome baits, jigs, and basically everything. So that's really my setup, man. Half bladed, half non-bladed A-rigs, and just different colors for different conditions.
Yeah, and I wanted to get in. There's a couple things I heard you say, but since you said the thing about the blades, when are you throwing the blades versus the no blades? Is that a light penetration sunlight thing, or is that a wind thing? What's the determining factor for you?
It's kind of like throwing the bright colors versus the natural color swim baits. If they will eat it with blades, I'm going to throw it with blades. But if you're throwing your bait out there and you're getting fish to come up and look at it and then turn around or not commit, or they're not wanting to come out and look at it, then I'll go to non-bladed version. And a lot of times that's when the sun's not shining. Usually you're going to throw the bladed one when you have some sun or some wind. But you get that like super slick, no wind and no sun. That's when that non-bladed version will work a lot better.
I'm going to ask one more question before we try to turn it over to Rich and the gang on the IM board. But I noticed you said something about they wanted it this last week really close to the cover. Did you find yourself having to make contact with the cover to create this strike?
Yeah, a lot of times, depending on how many fish were in the brush or on the structure. If it was 7, 8, 9, 10 fish, a lot of times you could get it 7 feet from the brush or whatever it was I was throwing at, and they'd come out 4 or 5 of them. If you get 4 or 5 fish come out to look at it, you really didn't have to do much to get them to bite. But if it was a kind of what I would consider a big fish spot that may have 1 or 2 fish, or if they wouldn't bite, hitting that cover is like huge for triggering them. And I figured that out in the tournament too. I hit it and about got hung and ripped the A-rig, and it woke the pile up. And that was after like 7, 8 casts. And then all of a sudden, here they come. They're alive, and you can throw in there and catch one after another. It is important. Having a good plug knocker is important. I can tell you that too.
What plug knocker are you using?
I just have the Bass Pro, the fish looking one with a chain. I put it on a old broken rod that I cut off right at the reel seat, and an old crappy reel with, Dacron or something on it. And dude, I didn't lose a single A-rig all week.
Wow. Brush piles, knocking them into the brush, and he never lost one.
What happens is that thing's got a ring on it. And when you drop it down there, it ends up compressing the arms. And so you end up with it like this. It gets down all the way down there and covers all your baits up. And when you're bouncing it, it'll knock it out almost every time. It literally, it compresses all the wires, and when you reel it up, it's all the way at the bottom of here like this. It works like
That's
a charm.
awesome.
I got one
That's
more
awesome.
A-rig tip. These little things are called gear ties, I think. It's just a tackle hack. You take that like this, and you can do it running down the lake or when they're in your rod box and just bend it around like this here, and it holds your A-rig perfect. Doesn't get all tangled up. Keeps it from getting stuck in your rod socks or getting tangled. It works pretty good. I think you can get them at Bass Pro or wherever. Pretty cool.
That's a pretty great tip, guys.
What do you call it? Gear
Rich?
ties?
I think it's called gear ties, VTC.
Okay. All right. It's like a twist tie for your loaf of bread, but a little heavier duty.
Exactly.
Okay. That's cool. Rich?
Yeah, we got plenty of questions here on the message board. As always, our guys are fired up. We appreciate having all them on the board. And the first one that I want to go with is from Sean Lay, and he wants to know, talk about the weight of your jig heads on your retrieval, and what are some things that'll make you decide to go heavier or lighter on the weight of your jig heads.
Sure. So like this week, the fish wanted it super slow. I mean, like I'm throwing a 7.4, I think, Shimano, and I'm turning it like this. Half the time, I'm not even turning it, just letting it drift over whatever I'm fishing. And when they want it like that, almost all the time, I'm throwing 1/8 heads. Now, I will go to quarters if they're real aggressive, if they want that thing moving, or if you're fishing something that's deeper water, table rock type thing, where you're catching fish 20 to 40, 50 foot deep, I'll go to quarters. But 90% of the time, I'm throwing 8s, and then I just kind of vary the tree depending on how the fish want it.
Gotcha, Rich.
So the next one that I'm going to go with is going to be from Mark Polsky, and he wants to know, what would you consider to be the best conditions possible to throw an A-rig?
The best conditions possible. So I'm going to go sunny. Water's like 45 degrees, below 50 for sure. Sunny, water that's below 50. Good ripple. I don't want 15-mile-an-hour wind, but if I've got that like 6, 7, 8-mile-an-hour wind, enough to put some chop on the water, and super sunny conditions, that's ideal, man. Right, pre-spawn.
Good deal.
Yeah,
and Mac Attack wants to know, how long ago did you first start throwing the A-rig, and what were some of the things that made you decide to start throwing it when you did?
So I started throwing an A-rig in like probably 2015. So I didn't start fishing tournaments until I was out of high school, which would be probably 14 was the first year I started fishing tournaments. And we went down to Kentucky Lake, and I caught my first 20-pound bag on an A-rig, and it's kind of been a staple in my arsenal ever since then. You catch 20-pound bag and you're new to fishing, it's you're not going to forget about it. So I've been throwing an A-rig for a few years, but not too terribly long.
Good deal. And we'll just go right to the other side of the fence on that with Team No Fish wants to know what time of the year or what kind of conditions will typically make you want to put the A-rig away.
Yeah, watercolor for sure. I've been saying that once we get that water in like the high 40s to low 50s and the water up the lake starts getting color to it, you're not going to win with an A-rig anymore. They're going to start catching 20, 25-pound bags on the bank. So once the fish move to the bank, that water gets to 50-plus degrees, and they're starting to think about spawning. I'll usually put it away and go with like a big spinner bait or a crankbait or something like that.
Right. So it does have a time and a place. It's not just it's not a magic bait,
Around here, it's like mid-April, about the time they start to go up to spawn.
You ever throw it like dead heat of summer when they get off into deeper water?
I probably should, but I don't. My whole stance with that is I want something that I can wind fast. This time of year, they don't want to move very much, but it's all about making them react in the summertime for me. And, I can throw a big swim bait out there, something that I can wind a lot more free, not as much resistance, and still get the same bites. I guarantee you they'll bite it. They'll bite this thing 12 months out of the year, but it's just not as efficient as some other things.
You ever double up an A-rig?
I have not, man. That's something that I've been wanting to do really bad. But from what I understand, I've heard guys talk about not setting the hook. So you get fish following it, you get a bite, and you just kind of pull on them or let them fight down there. I should probably mess with it in practice or something, but I don't have the courage to do that in a tournament. I mean, come on.
Right. Right. I hear that.
Grind that thing in.
Yeah.
So I know Major League Fishing, they'll let you throw 5 wire rigs. They'll let you have 5 blades on it, but only 3 hooks. So what are you doing with the other 2 arms? Are you doing dummies? Are you doing weighted dummies? You know, tell us what you're doing in top or bottom.
State of Missouri is 3 hooks anyway. So no matter what, we can only roll with 3 hooks. I'm going the top 2 here are going to be my teasers, and I bend them up a little bit forward, see how they're the furthest forward baits. And I put hitchhikers on them, or these are actually owner centering springs. They have just a little pin in the middle, so you can get it on there straight every time. The reason I use these and not like jig heads with the weights cut off or something is the weight on the bottom and no jig heads on the top helps keep it keeled so it doesn't spin. You know, if you have 1/8 heads all the way around, this thing's going to do this in the water and twist the crap out of your line. So I try and go no weight on the top, and it helps it stay upright and look real natural.
That's great. All right, I'm going to throw a scenario at you, right? So you're watching these things on live scope. If you get, you're throwing it over the brush and you see multiple fish come up on it, I would imagine you don't have to do too much to trigger the strikes. But when you get that 1 or 2 fish where they're just following it and you don't have cover to just bang it into, are you doing anything to try to trigger them? I mean, I know you just got to play with them for days on that, so I know you've seen that scenario. So tell us what you're doing to talk them into it, if you will.
I'm telling you, I would say 8 out of 10 times they follow that thing all the way back to the boat, and most of the time you can watch them swim right back to the brush pile. So when you start catching them or they start following it, a lot of times you'll pull them from it and they get off the brush and sit under the boat. Either I'm going to wait for them to go back, or I'll go 20 yards or 100 yards and fish another one and come back and fish it in 20 minutes. But if you're like dead set on catching one that just followed it back, either you can keep like your jerkbait out there on the deck and throw that to it, or like even a Demiki rig or something that if it's right under the boat, you can drop that thing down there and just hold it on its nose. But most of the time they'll swim right back to the cover, and you just keep fishing for them until they bite, or just wait, come back, different parts of the day. That leads me to another thing, man. I would say like 90% of the time, 90% of the tournament, those fish would not cooperate. I could see them glued to the bottom of the brush piles. Like when they're like that, you can't get your bait to them. There's just nothing you can do. You can throw a jig in there, but it's hard to get them out, and they don't bite it near as good as they will that A-rig. So what I would do is there was a morning window and there was an afternoon window that they'd kind of get out and into the top of them and roam, and then they were catchable. So really it's just a timing thing, and you just have to keep coming back and checking stuff.
Yeah. So you obviously had a rotation there that you were talking about. Did you ever have time to try and go practice? Like, did you ever have your bag early on in the day? Did you find any new stuff during the tournament hours?
Not intentionally. I pulled up at one point. There's a stretch that I was really wanting to fish, and there was a boat on it both days for multiple hours, but he wasn't fishing what I wanted to fish. He was fishing up towards the bank, and he was dragging something. And I was like, man, I really want to go over there and fish that, but I don't want to crowd this guy. And day 2, I came back in there, and there was nobody in sight. And I set the boat down like 50, 60 yards from the brush I wanted to fish, and I set the trolling motor down like on a pile. And I didn't know it was there. You know, I set it down. It was right in front of me. I just pitched the A-rig out there to it like 10, 15 feet, almost straight down. And I rolled it over the brush and killed it, dropped it down the other side. And like a big one came out, followed it, and then you could see him turn and go back into the brush. And the thing looked this long on the live scope. So I marked it. Went up to the pile I wanted to fish, came back. I caught a 5-pounder out of it. And then I came back on the last day. In the first 15 minutes, I had a 5, a 4, and a 3 out of that tree. So,
oh my gosh,
I think it's important in multi-day tournaments to find more stuff in practice for sure. But I got
man,
lucky.
that's awesome.
I mean, that was just luck. That whenever it's your time to win, man, you can't screw it up, and that's just one of them things where it was just my time. You know, that wasn't anything I did.
There's
but
no
you were fishing the
argument
right
there,
way, man. You know.
Yeah, you were.
You were doing the right thing.
Yeah,
to
you
set
were.
yourself up to win.
Mike, talk a little bit about what makes you decide fluorocarbon over braid. Epic Eric on the message board wants to know what are some of the reasons that you'll go one way or the other, and also if you can elaborate on if there's any scenarios that you might go in the other direction, because I know you mentioned you went fluoro for this one. Are there times where you will go braid?
Yeah, the age-old braid fluoro argument on the A-rig, man. Everybody tries to tell you'll get more bites on the fluorocarbon. I don't believe in that, really. I mean, I don't think that has anything to do with it. The only reason I throw fluorocarbon is I'm used to it. I like throwing it all day. I'm comfortable with it. I personally feel like I can throw it further than braid. For the sole reason is you put that big heavy bait on a braid rod, and you got to throw it out there, and like every 5 casts, I about get the rod jerked out of my hand. You know, it's like I'm just not used to it. That's what works for me, and I'm like, well, I'll throw the fluorocarbon, man. I don't think it gets you any more bites. I do like the little extra stretch you get, maybe not pull the bait from them as hard, but you ain't it. The fish can't see that dang braid. Come on, they'd see all that wire if they could see anything.
Right.
So. That's my thing. I'm just more comfortable with it.
So I know you were talking about brush piles and fishing them and finding a couple new ones. Did you? I mean, down here in the South, guys are planting them. Do you guys do that out in Missouri? Are you a participant in that?
Yeah, I put brush in this winter. I put like 75 piles in, but let me tell you, I did not catch a single fish off a pile I put in.
Oh, man.
That is no lie.
Me neither. My brush piles always like float away. I go back to find it. I'm like, damn, I didn't use enough weight again.
Yeah, for sure. No, I didn't catch any off any of the stuff I put in this year. Our lake's like 7 foot low, and all my stuff's too shallow.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. High and dry.
Oh, how about that? So, Mike, we hear that you've been part of the family over here for a while with us. Tell the guys how long you've been a Bass U TV subscriber.
Yeah, I've been a part of Bass U for a minute, man. You guys have an awesome thing going on. I've learned so dang much. Like I said, I haven't been tournament fishing that long. I started when I was 18 or 19. I'm 26 now, so it hadn't been a long deal, and I know nothing starting out. You know, nobody in my family really fishes that much. My dad fished some, and he taught me what he knew. But you know, most of it's online research and time on the water. And Bass U is a huge deal for that, man. There's a Bass U video for every scenario out there. You know, you get pros in there that talk for an hour long. And you know, I heard Fletcher Shryock, I think, say one time he was the same way starting out. And you get to watching videos like that, it's like, man, I've heard all this stuff. Like, I've heard everything this guy's talking about. But then there's a 15-second clip where he says something that you're like, oh, man, I had no idea. You're like writing it down, like mind blown. So it's worth it, man. I'll watch those things over and over again.
The nuggets, the
awesome.
little bits and pieces that one day on the water where the light bulb goes off, and you apply something. It's really, really cool.
It's the difference, man.
No doubt.
Yeah, BTC, I know, speaking of nuggets, I know we wanted to keep Mike around. I don't know if we want to go do the list. I know we got a few more minutes with him. Are we wanting to do
yeah. Go
the
ahead,
old
JJ.
top 5?
Yep, run the list, buddy.
So top 5, obviously we were talking about umbrella rigs. It's the hottest technique on the planet. Won multiple tournaments this weekend. Ones that we heard about, ones that we didn't. But basically, my top 5 has to do with the top umbrella rigs that are showing themselves in tournament competition. So the top 5 brands. So, Mike, I'm going to let you guess. Can you guess any of them?
Yeah. So the Flash Mob Junior, the Shane's
Ding, ding.
Baits, the Shane's
Ding, ding.
Baits, the Hog Farmer.
Ding, ding.
Oh man, I got 2 more. Picasso.
Man, he just got 4 for 4 right there, guys. Can he get number 5?
Come on.
And put me on the spot.
Not watching enough Bashu TV.
Come on.
I can't do it, man. I can't do it.
Awesome. So he got the Flash Mob. The Flash Mob Junior really showed up in a lot of top 10 baits in his tournament and in the Grand Lake College tournament, and has for a long time. I think our pal Luke Duncan had thrown a Flash Mob we might hear about, or at least he told me. But the Picasso he got as well. There's 20 different rigs on Tackle Warehouse by Picasso, by the way. So those of you guys who have those restrictions, we know there's laws are different every state. They probably got something for you, as does Hog Farmer, who he also got. They've got 15 Alabama rig SKUs on Tackle Warehouse, and then
driving me crazy.
And then the next one was number 2, and then he got Shane's Baits, which was, man, they're just hot right now. They, like I said, I talked to Shane, and they are so backed up. And he rattled off like 5 local derbies around the Carolinas and my part down here in Georgia, where they've been playing all winter. But yeah, the reason I mentioned Bashu TV is because Brian Thrift did a video on it. There's been a lot of high finishes on the A-rig that he designed, that finesse A-rig by ER Lures. So that one's not necessarily out there. I think you got to go to like Sportsman's Warehouse and then maybe one other place to find that one. But it's a little finesse-y style.
That was the
A-rig.
5th one on your list?
That's the 5th one on the list. But dude, bravo, man. I didn't even have to really go through it, man. The guy guessed 4 off the cuff, but that shows you how tuned in to the juice that he is.
I'm a hardcore tackle head, man. Bad.
Yeah,
it's
That's
bad.
love
awesome,
it.
man.
Me too.
That's dope.
Me too. I know a lot of the junkies on the IM board are as well. I heard Epic Eric tonight's joining us, and we all know he is as well.
So, Michael,
But,
I guess you're committed to the rest of the Toyota series now, huh?
Yeah, definitely the planes at least, huh?
Yes,
For
you're
sure.
in,
It's a good deal.
drawn in.
So we got Grand in April. Hopefully I can make the same thing work there. And then Dardanelle and May, I think I've never been there, so I don't really know what to expect on that deal.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, man, again, congrats. Thank you for taking the time to join us and go take the deep dive into how you absolutely pretty much lapped the field.
Yeah, man.
Where 15-pound average was pretty much like 2nd and 3rd place, and he won by over 15 pounds.
Yeah.
So, yeah, thanks again, everybody. The Toyota Series champ of the Lake of the Ozarks, Michael Harlan.
Yes,
Michael,
sir.
congrats, man.
Good job, Mike. Way to go, man.
Well done.
Man, I appreciate it, guys. Hey, real quick, if you get a chance, check out Camus Boats, man. Mine's on the way. Actually just got here today, so they're rigging that up. We got a BFL this weekend, so I'm cutting it close on that deal. But if you haven't looked at them, they're pretty sick. So check out a Camus, and like I said, FX rods and Croc Gator baits, man. I got a discount code for both of them. So
Hey,
if you
Mike,
didn't
what's
get
your
it, hit
discount
me
code
up.
for Camus?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I wish I had one of those.
Come on.
I wish.
Yeah, Mike, where can people find you on social media? What's your Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, any of that?
It's LOZ Harlan on Instagram, and then Facebook's just my first and last name. I don't have a page yet, so I'll have one coming. But yeah, if you need those discount codes, hit me up, and I'll be glad to hook you up.
Good deal.
Awesome, man.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much, Mike.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, guys.
All right,
Awesome.
man. The A rig, I'm telling you, it's Justin. It's one of those things that I feel like I'm behind the 8 ball on the A rig, and it's kind of becoming like a buzz as of late. It seems like this year it's getting a lot more attention than it has.
Well, yeah, and I have a theory. All right, here's another professional fish head theory. I've got no proof. for this.
We need
but
like
it
the
seems
sci-fi
like-
music. Da-na-na.
Yeah. Well, dude, like the A-Rig, like it came out and crushed it, right? And it crushed in the fall. It was like November, so it wasn't even that cold yet when Paul Elias did his thing, or October, I can't remember. Yeah, it was late October. But it kind of was a big craze and then kind of went away. And then I think I remember another blip of like 4 or 5 years ago. And then it makes some headlines every now and then, but we all kind of was like, oh yeah, it's just another tool. It's not just just add water bait anymore. But dude, this cold snap. I mean, we saw what happened in Texas. We've seen the coldest water temperatures down here in the Southeast. And so it's got to be everywhere else too, like that we've seen in like 4 years. So I'm wondering if there is a direct correlation to when the water when you get like one of your colder winters and that thing shines.
Right.
I mean, he's talking about, the fish just get really lethargic, and it's something that you can really fish slow, efficiently, and stick in their face and make them trigger maybe. I don't know. That's my theory, is that when you get your coldest years, the A-Rig is going to play and it will catch you a giant.
Yeah.
But I have no proof for that.
Yeah. So I kind of been thinking a lot about that too. And the way that I'm relating it to is like the theory with the big baits, like with like, the big glide baits and the big swim baits, that they just those kind of baits get so much attention. You know what I mean? It draws so many fish to just come and look at it. In certain times of the year, when the fish are, just starting to go pre-spawn, they're getting aggressive. I think just getting the attention of fish in the area and continuing to make those casts in those areas, and you draw one in on the first cast, you draw another one in on the second cast, you draw another one in on third cast. They could be 3 different fish, but the ecosystem and the fish in the water, they know that. They know when their buddies are moving around, going around looking at stuff. So I think it's one of those things that even if you're not really wearing them out on it, it just, how can it not get attention? It's got 5 swim baits on it. Like the power of a 3.3 high-tech is like undeniable in certain situations, and this is just that times 5. So I'm definitely going to throw it this year. I'm pretty stoked about it. I'm probably going to throw it this weekend. I'm going to throw it on Saturday. So hopefully it works, man.
Aspen Pink?
Davis Mill.
Ah, you fishing Davis?
Davis Mill.
Oh, that's right. Pink's on Sunday. You fishing pink?
I'm not fishing pink on Sunday. I think I'm driving down to Virginia to sell a boat Sunday. So
good.
Yeah.
Good for you, bro.
Yeah.
Awesome. Right on.
So
JK, I got Luke Duncan in the waiting room.
Sweet.
If you're
we gonna
good,
take a
we're gonna
break, or we gonna?
Yep, we'll hit our commercial break.
Sweet.
And we'll be back in 2 minutes. Nope, 2 minutes and 5 seconds with inaugural NPFL announcer, Mr. Luke Duncan.
Awesome.
Why do you love catching fishing rods?
I'm truly losing less fish.
Is the sensitivity of the rod.
That they're made right here in North Carolina in the USA.
Strongest, lightest rod, 100% made here in Sanford, North Carolina.
From the drop shot rod to the flipping stick, every rod has a purpose to it, and I rely on them all the time when I'm out there in a tournament.
Durability in the John Cruz Worman series, the counterbalancing in the handle.
It's the only rod I found that can withstand my hook set. Boom goes the dynamite.
We're different. Some would say obsessed. There's no place on earth we'd rather be than right here, right now. Performance-driven gear, so you can fish longer, harder. Gill's Performance Fishing.
One thing that's happened that's probably advanced our electronics more so this year than anything that has in a while, C-Clear Power wiring harness. These units are designed to do a certain thing. If you're not getting enough power, enough wattage, enough voltage, they're not going to perform the way they're supposed to perform. C-Clear Power wiring harness fixes that problem. One of the great things about the C-Clear Power harness is It doesn't matter what brand of unit you have. It doesn't matter what kind of boat you got. The thing that you want from the SeaClear harness is power. SeaClear Power puts enough voltage to your units to make them maintain the performance that they're supposed to maintain. So if you're not seeing everything like you think you should see it, SeaClear Power will show it to you.
Why do you love?
We're live. And you caught me and Luke just geeking out over
having a podcast.
Man, he's getting me fired up about catching these fish. And I've seen the habitat, I've seen the setup. I didn't get to experience it because when we went and filmed with Luke, it was 17 degrees. Hats off to Luke Duncan for the coldest on water seminar ever, by the way.
For sure.
He went through it for us, but apparently they're biting now, and I really wish I was there.
Yeah, they're eating.
But man, it's good to have you, man. Thanks for joining us from Lake Eufaula.
Well, thank you guys for having me, man. We're going to try to do this with the sketchy Eufaula service. Hopefully, it'll be okay. I'm running off of hot spots and all kind of stuff. We're going to make it happen.
We're going to make it happen. It's happening, Luke. We got you coming in.
We here now. We here.
It's happening.
Yep, it is. It is. So, Luke, tell us what you're doing down there, man.
Well, I'm going to be hosting along with David Dudley and Fat Cat Newton the National Professional Fishing League, all their live coverage this week. We kick off Thursday. I got 115 dudes going to go out here and probably I have a feeling wreck them on Eufaula because we're following all these cold fronts, and it's like truly the perfect storm. Weather's getting in the 70s, 80s. The lows are getting a little bit warmer at night, and by like Friday, Saturday, it's supposed to be like mid 80s here. So magic could happen. Hopefully, fingers crossed. You know, we saw Red Crest here. It was really cold. They fished a lot of muddy water stuff, you know, and they didn't just knock their lights out. They caught them decent. But I feel like we'll see a lot of big fish caught this week. The potential's there anyways.
Yeah, that'll be fun and exciting. And I know you got quite the crew put together calling the game with Dudley and Fat Cat and yourself, man. It should be fun to watch. How many guys are you guys going to be covering each day?
So we've got 10 cameras, so we'll have 10 guys up, and that makes us really versatile. You know, we can move around. If one of our first day picks is not catching them, we can move around. We've actually got 10 plus one roaming camera that'll be with Fat Cat out on the water. So we can shift around. The most difficult thing for us, just like Bassmaster, I assume, you know, they broadcast all 4 days now, is that first day it's kind of tough. You're just picking names out of a hat, basically. So day one is going to be a little tricky. We're trying to talk to the guys, and you got some guys that are probably smashing them that don't want a camera, and you've got some guys that aren't catching them that do want a camera, you know. So there's that careful mix. But yeah, we got 10 cameras, so going to be able to show you a lot of different people and a lot of different patterns hopefully out there on the water.
Yeah, man, that should be a lot of fun. BTC, what you got?
So Luke, where do we get to see this at?
It's on the nationalprofessionalfishingleague.com. Longest website in history for the name. The NPFL.
It uses every letter, right? Yeah.
Do what?
It uses every letter.
Every letter.
Every letter.
All the letters.
Yeah. It's inclusive.
And if you don't think this redneck's not going to get tongue-tied about 15 times during 7 hours, say the National Professional Fishing League. You know, I've been saying it in the mirror, but it's like supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. It's a really long name. We call it the league amongst the guys it's just the league. But unfortunately, we couldn't get NPFL.com because that is the Nigerian Professional Football League.
Yes.
Yeah. And we couldn't get that. So it's real. It's real life. They take their football very serious in Nigeria. So we couldn't get that. They wouldn't sell it.
I see. They just want to. They're just piggybacking off of that following. You were trying to draw them over to you.
Yeah, there's going to be a big crossover this year in fans.
We're really, a lot of tournament trails claim that they're changing the game and growing the sport, but I really feel like with that crossover alone, NPFL.
That's key. Good play, man.
For sure.
Good play.
Luke, how much interaction have you had with the guys that are going to be fishing in this league? And have you met with a lot of them? Do you know a lot of them existing? Talk a little bit about that.
So I know several. There are a few guys here that fished FLW when I did. I know some of them just from keeping up with a lot of events like Toyotas. I'm a bass head like you guys, so I'm keeping up with a lot of tournaments, whether it's local stuff that Justin's fishing in Georgia. Paying attention. You see these names. There are a lot of these guys that I've heard of before. Just because I'm a fishing nerd. I've spent time talking with, since the announcement last August that I was coming on board. A lot of them have reached out. I've been following a lot of them, getting to know them as best I can through social media. So I've had a lot of interactions. But I can tell you today, I got down here just a few hours ago, and the vibe, the feel of this, the only way I can describe the old FLW days, it was like this camaraderie. I don't know, almost like a big bass club, if that makes sense. But everybody kind of working towards one goal. And it was so cool getting to meet a lot of guys this afternoon that I didn't know. And Fat Cat's actually been here a couple days before me. And he pulled me to the side and he goes, dude, you don't understand. The feel of this is just amazing. And these anglers are just, he's been out on the water interacting with them. And so I think it's going to be a really cool event. We've got some, I think the fishing world is about to find out about some names that they don't know.
Right.
I'll be honest.
Right. That's kind of what I was, getting at is
absolutely. Well, a guy like Keith Carson.
Yeah.
He's going to be. We'll probably have Keith on live day one. He won the last Open.
Good choice.
Yeah.
John Cox's, brother, basically, and John Cox tells you he's the best fisherman he's ever been in a boat with. You tend to listen, right?
Is he using John Cox's boat this week?
I'm not sure. I haven't talked to Keith yet. I think Keith actually got a boat because it was going to be a problem when they both tried to fish the Classic out of John's boat.
There's enough room in that crest liner, but
there's definitely enough room in the boat.
Mm-hmm.
That was going to be a weird situation for bass all the way around.
I thought it was going to take John at least having two boats himself just to get all those tournaments accomplished, sending them all over the country
that. Yeah, for sure.
So who'd you pick for AOY, Luke?
Ooh.
Dude, we were talking about that this afternoon, and it's really unfair until I get to know everybody to throw a name out. But obviously for me, a guy like John Sukup from the Bass Tank, I don't know if John Sukup, I like to call him. John is, he's won Angler of the Year in the Okie division of the BFLs. He's made the Forest Wood Cup through the Toyota Series. Yep. He's a guy, he's super dialed with his electronics, but he's also a guy that's really, really good shallow. He's just a great fisherman. If you keep up with him, he catches a lot of big bass out in Oklahoma and Texas. So he'd be a guy that I think over the course of the year, we're going to several different lakes, unique bodies of water. I think John will be a guy that will be up there at the end of the year. I think a guy like Keith Carson, because we're going to Harris Chain, right? And we're going to kind of a strange time of year, last week of May. A lot of these guys have not been there that time of year. I think Keith, that's just a home run for him, in my opinion. The boys are going to have their work cut out for him. But I don't know, man. We've got a lot of guys that I think that you're just going to see right now. Yeah. They're all hungry. They're all happy to be here. And it is a little bit like they've got something to prove, right? I think we all do with this league because, I mean, when they first made their announcement 2 years ago, I was like, yeah, okay. Yeah, I got a tournament trail too, right? Because it was just a little blurb. It was just a press release. And as I got to know these guys, as I got to see their passion, their drive, and hear their ideas and their plans for 5 years from now, forget year one, they've got so many plans. And now I'm sitting in a hotel room in Eufaula, Alabama, 2 years after this announcement. They're fixing to have a dang bass tournament, guys. It's happening. The weigh-in stage trailer, it's all set up. It looks amazing. These guys have outdone themselves. And I just hope that I can do the anglers justice that have decided to spend their hard-earned money on that entry fee to come fish with us.
Dang bass trail.
dang on a dang Thursday, BTC.
Dang Thursday. Luke.
Man, we heard that John Cox was fishing everything. Is he fit? Is John Cox fishing the NPFL?
So we've got a John Cox stuff double. Yeah, we've actually got so John is from Georgia, our John Cox. I told him, I was like, can we call you the other John Cox? Like, how do we handle this situation? Because it's very unfortunate.
The older John Cox.
The older John Cox. And John is actually, he's a Eufaula hammer. Like, John knows this lake really well.
Yeah, I know him.
Yeah. John's a fisherman, man. So I think John can make a little noise this week for sure. But I like to give him a hard time because he's like a foot taller than me. So when he comes up, the first time I met him down here, we were filming some stuff in January, and John walks up to me and he goes, "Man, I really thought you'd be taller in real life." And I said, "Yeah, man, I thought you'd have a Crestliner aluminum boat."
And trophies falling out of your closet.
That's right.
Yeah. Just
that's good.
Break up the monotony a little bit with him, but he's a good dude. There was a lot of confusion with that though, because John Cox is fishing freaking everything this year. The John Cox everybody knows, but yeah, we've and then it was even more confusing when Keith Carson signed up. I was getting all kinds of texts. Dude, John and Keith are both fishing in the PFL. Holy hell!
Oh, that's too good.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I remember when I was trying to get a hold of John Cox for the first time. I don't know, like 5 years ago. I found the wrong one. The wrong John Cox is what I. Yeah. I reached out to him on social media, found out it was the wrong one.
So our John Cox said that he had such an influx of Facebook and Instagram followers after John won the Forestwood Cup.
That's right.
It was just ridiculous. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Like blew up overnight. And he's like, "Not him! Stop following me!" Like post and stuff, but it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
That's not the first time somebody had the same
Jason
name
Christie's,
as
John Cox's.
Yeah, we got there's 2 Jason Christies out there. I hope there's not 2 Luke Duncans. The world can only handle one.
I was about to say, I don't think there is.
Luke, what event on the schedule are you looking forward to most, just to cover, as an analyst?
So for me, they're coming to Pickwick Lake, which is my home lake, in July, which is a really tough time. We've got a lot of grass there now. I'm looking forward to seeing how the guys break down that time of year.
Right.
But the one I'm looking forward to the most is that Harris Chain event, honestly. Last week of May, first week of June, we saw what the BPT guys did at Heavy Hitters at Kissimmee last year. Florida really gets cranking in like June, July. Those fish are used to the heat. We always have these February, January, March at the latest big events in Florida. I feel like on all the pro trails, like I love the idea of having a summer tournament there. So I think that first week of June, Harris Chain's got a lot of deep stuff. You've been there, Justin. There's a lot of cool offshore stuff there. So I think that one's going to be a really cool event.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I honestly think you could see some mega weights, even though that it's late in the year for Florida. I mean, I'll go out on a limb and say we're going to see a 10-pounder in that event. Post-spawn, sure. Post-spawn. I mean, it'll be way past the spawn by then.
Yeah.
And since we're talking NPFL, before we move on, because I know we've got some more big fish stories to get into.
Oh my goodness.
I'm going to go ahead and make my AOI pick for NPFL, and that's Keith Carson. And it's a very popular pick, but I'm going ahead and making that public. I think that guy's way more versatile than his Florida fishing lets on. So
no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Keith likes to fish offshore more than him. Keith likes to fish off the bank more than he lets known. I'll be honest. I think we're going to see that a little bit this year.
Yeah, me too, man. That's fun, man.
I got to go with Keith Carson. I mean, I'll follow the trail. I mean, I only say that because I haven't followed a ton of the guys on this trail yet. I'm making it a point to. It's funny. I actually. Just last week, I was on the MPFL roster, and I was going through from the top of the list to the bottom, just trying to find him on social media to give him a follow, just to stay and kind of put my fingers on what's going on.
I was doing the same thing today.
Yeah, but I mean, I got to go with, Keith because, he's already accomplished. He spends a ton of time on the water. And I think it's really funny that I think he carved his name into John Cox's boat or something, or he carved his name into his rap last week. So it's my kind of guy.
Yeah, he's the best, man. And I think that, obviously by the Harris Chain Tournament 3, we're going to get to know a lot of these guys halfway through the season. I mean, obviously the points will be starting to take shape then too, but you're going to know who we're dealing with, who are your big guns of this trail, who are your personalities. Like, we're going to really get to know these guys by then, and that's what I'm looking forward to the most, for sure.
We've got a local guy, young guy. How old's Luke? Upper 20s.
Yeah,
Luke Schrader.
I think he's 2 years older than me, so
is he
32, 33.
Okay.
Living in his truck, man.
Yes.
Yep.
He's committed. He's all in.
Putting in that work. I've been keeping up. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Luke's going to catch some fish.
Yeah, I do too. I think he's going to do good. Yep. So
that's cool.
We've got
so basically the end of the world is starting, and I think it's starting in Texas because what's been going on out there is absolutely redonkulous. And Luke, you were a part of this trip that just popped up on everybody's radar. If you are in tune with anything in this fishing world, the most ridiculous bass fishing trip that dudes probably have ever had in the public eye, that was shared with the public, and you got to be a part of that.
On public water too.
On public water.
Public water. That's a key.
And this trip has produced eye-popping videos that produced YouTube death threats. But VTC, are we ready to transition to talk about this? I have been waiting so long to talk about this. I think I called Luke like 17 times. He didn't answer. But
there he is.
There
most
he
wanted
is.
man in Texas.
The most wanted man right there.
What's up, gentlemen?
What's up, Ben?
How you doing, Ben?
Hello, Benjamin.
How we doing, guys? I wish I was back out there in Jersey eating some of those delicious Philly cheesesteaks right now.
Oh, heck yeah, man. We had a
Hanging
good
out in the
time.
garage mahal.
That's right.
Jersey or OHIV? Where are you picking right now tonight? Ben?
All right, Luke. That's not fair.
Well, he's safer in Jersey from what I hear.
For sure.
I think we're the only people that have ever caught a bass over 8 pounds in Texas before, it sounds like.
Apparently. Posted to social media. Nobody's ever posted big fish on social media ever.
Gave everything away, all the secrets.
That's right.
Wow. Well, what went on, just to lay the groundwork, and then I want story time from you guys. I have been just I think obviously as a fish head, and Luke, you know me well, it's just obsessive over what just went down with y'all's trip. I had never heard of OHIV, never heard of the lake, never has been on my radar. That's a big miss for this fish head. But anyways, you guys went out there as a group and produced some amazing footage with some amazing fish catches with records broken. So I'm going to sit back here and let you guys just tell us what the heck happened, because we all want to hear more about it. We've seen videos, we've seen pictures, just please, I'm going to sit back and enjoy for a minute. I'll ask questions later.
Yeah. Do I want me to take it, Luke?
Yeah, go, Ben. You're the man. You're the quarterback.
Most wanted.
Well, we planned a trip for all the Six Sense Pro staff guys. A bunch of us. We had a good get together last year. Everyone's just great people, and so we're like, we need to go down to Choke Canyon, Texas. Awesome lake, one of the best in Texas. We just crushed them there last year on a trip that I went on with Ron and Kelly, Captain Ron. And so it was like, this is the lake we got to go to. So we get all these cabins lined up and everything months in advance. And then this incredible ice storm, this transcendent 200, 300 year ice storm happens in Texas, cold fronts, everyone's pipes break. No one has water. No one has electricity. And so this all happens like a couple days before. And so I was going with my buddy Joe, and he had already taken work off. And I was like, we're just going to go anyway. And so we left the house at like 6 o'clock in the evening the night before, and we're just going to plan to drive through the night. And we're like, we don't even know where we're going to go. We're just going to go south. And so on the way down, we're calling different places because we're like, it's 10 degrees outside in Texas the next day. And we went a couple days before everyone else because no one could even leave their house because people had no electricity. People were snowed in. Luke was snowed in. It was ridiculous, even in Tennessee. And so we were calling power plant lakes on the way down because we figured we'd have to fish a power plant if we're going to catch a Florida strain bass in Texas, have any chance in the warm water. And they were all closed. And so we were going to go through East Texas and work our way down to Choke, because Choke's 17 hours from my house. And so we didn't want to drive it straight through. And so we're like, well, shit, what does that leave us with? And then I remembered a guy had told me about Ivy in a message like a year and a half ago. And so I messaged him and I was like, hey, is it still fishing good? And he's like, yeah, it's fishing all right. Guys are catching some good bags, but nothing crazy. I was like, okay, well, the water's probably open. He's like, I honestly don't know. I haven't been there. So we proceed to drive through the night, and every single body of water between Nebraska and this Lake Ivy in West Texas had ice on it. Even Lake Fork had ice on it. Ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And so we drive overnight. We finally get there in the morning, and it's like 12 degrees when we get there, and the wind's blowing 15, 20 miles an hour. And I was like, oh God, this is not a good thing. But we got to the lake and it was open. It didn't have ice on it. And the water was clean. And when the water was clean, I thought potentially we had a chance. And so we dumped the boat in off the trailer, and I didn't even want to put it on plane because I hadn't used my boat in a month and a half, 2 months. Water was high 30s, and we've been driving through 15 to, we left home, it was below zero. So we've been driving through that shit. I was like, we need to heat the engine up forever. So we just idled out to the most main lake point island drop off looking stuff where I figured some fish had pulled back to. We put the trolling motor down, immediately started seeing some fish on Panoptics and side scan, and went to work the first day with a little single swim bait. And then the first bite happened, and fighting it on a 6 pound test on a spinning rod on a little 3-inch swim bait, and was basically just praying the entire time it wasn't a catfish or a wiper or something, because we have no idea. We didn't know anything about the lake. And get it in, it's like a 6.5 pound bass. And wow. Immediately I was like, oh my God. It's and it was like the fourth or fifth fish I had seen, and I hadn't casted to them yet with Panoptics. And I was like, okay, this could be.
What was the water temperature again?
Water temperature was like 39, 38 degrees that morning.
Yeah, I'm out. I wouldn't even know what to do.
Yeah. And honestly, we felt okay about it because this wasn't like a 2-day, 3-day cold front. This was like the 8th or 9th day of extremely low temperatures. And so even a Florida strain bass over that period of time has to eat. These bass have to eat something. So after 4 or 5 days of a cold front, they decided they wanted to eat, obviously. And so we proceeded. I probably caught 15 bass that day. I caught a couple that were in the 3 pound range, but the rest were 5 to 8.5 pounds, had like a 36, 37 pound limit, just with the little swim bait. And the entire, every cast, we were fighting fish, and it was like fighting it with the rod dipped down in the water because your guides were frozen, your line would freeze inside the guides.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah, you guys know the struggle. You know all about that, BTC.
Oh yeah.
But
was it colder? Was it more harsh than the day me and you were out? Sounds like it was.
It was more harsh, yes. But I was colder the day with you because I did not pack for New Jersey for all. I didn't pack all my cold weather gear for that.
Yeah.
And I have been ice fishing, like literally that week I had ice fished 20 to 30 below zero actual temperatures, like 4 days in a row. And so we were good to go. Had to wear gloves, which sucks, but yeah, it was ridiculous. So anyways, we were going to go down to Choke after that day, and we're like, yeah, we can't leave this lake. Choke probably sucks right now anyways. So we stayed there. Next day we go to launch the boat, and I launched the boat, and I go to back off the trailer, and it was a little bit warmer. It was like 25 degrees in the next morning. But boats, I'm like, we're dead tired because we didn't sleep the night before, and then that night we had some drinks, of course, to celebrate actually catching something.
Right on.
And we go to back off the trailer. I'm like, damn it, Joe, you forgot to unhook the boat. What an idiot. It's something we all do, but I was pissed off. I was like, he's like, dude, I swear I unhooked it. So I go back there and I'm dipping my arms down in the 38-degree water. And I'm like, the hooks aren't on it. And so I was like, the front's hooked up. The front of the boat's hooked. So I go up there and front of the boat, not hooked up. And so the boat, by this point, the truck's straight, the boat's like this, and my engine's almost onto the shore. And we realized the boat was so stuck to the trailer that it had floated all the way over the side in the wind. And so I turned my wheel and I drive the boat back straight. So it was actually in some water. And it probably took 15 minutes before we even unfroze the boat from the trailer that next day.
That's serious cold right there.
Yeah, it was. I never experienced
that's like duck hunting stuff, not bass fishing stuff.
Right. Yeah, I had heard of that happening. I didn't know it took like 15 minutes for it to unfreeze, though. It was bonkers. Go back out to the same spot, catch a couple on the swim bait, but then Joe was throwing an A-rig, and they were coming to it a lot more. He got a couple bites the night before, but it was drawing him a lot more than the single swimmer was. Switched over to that, cracked him, probably 30 pounds limit in an hour or two. And then we're just like, okay, well, we've got an A-rig video. Let's go mess around. So I went to another spot, started throwing the A-rig there. The sun finally came out. It got like 65 degrees. And in like 4 hours, we amassed that 60-pound 5-fish limit, which included I caught 2 12-pounders. Joe caught a 16-4.
No big deal, guys. No big deal.
It was crazy. And it wasn't a thing where we got like, you think of a 60-pound bag, you probably figure you got 5 to 8 bites if you put that together because you're in the right spot with big ones. But no, we probably caught 20 other 5 to 8 pound bass along with that. And then
unbelievable,
another bunch of 3 to 5s. It was the craziest day of fishing ever. Yeah. And I'm kind of frustrated because my scale was like, it was off. It weighed Joe's at 15.5 pounds and his was 16.4. And it weighed both mine right at 12 pounds. So we kind of wish later on we would have had them checked for share lunkers. But if we would have done that, we might not have caught his 16.4. So it was crazy. But then we decided we were going to go down and be good team sports. And we had those cabins rented at Choke Canyon. So we drove 4 hours there after we fished that day and got that fish certified as a share lunker and fished there for a day and a half. And we're like, we got to go back. And so we spent the next 2 days at Ivy, and then everyone from 6 Cents came up, and we just continued.
The invasion started.
The invasion.
Yeah. Now look, you got to imagine, I'm in a group text with all the guys from 6. Ben's leading the charge. Well, he had not told anybody in the world about this 16-pounder yet. He hadn't told anybody in the world about these 12-pounder, nothing about the 60-pound limit. And when they went to certify this fish at the Elm Creek campground, they made a Facebook post about it. Well, what happens? It goes viral. So one of the guys in our group text shares that post. I was like, what the heck, Ben? Like, what's going on? And like, so word had gotten out. I hadn't left my house yet. This is Friday night, and we're going a 16-pound. We're freaking out. I still don't even know if I'm going to be able to get out of my garage because of the ice and snow. And I just went and got a shovel immediately. I'm like, I don't care. we're going to Texas. But like all this starts happening, and then they send us like really good pictures of the fish. Just incredible. And I text Ben separate from the group, and I'm like, so why are we going to Choke Canyon again? He's like, well, dude, it's kind of like this specific deal. And we're going down there. You guys know the deal. You're going to shoot content. We're going to, and at shallow, we're going to go fish shallow and do all this stuff for 6 cents, a lot of grass. We got a ton of lipless, crane, but when we weren't going to be able to do that at Ivy, and he's like, dude, let's go down there. And then we got down there, and it was just terrible. Well, our temperature was 45 degrees an hour from Mexico when we got to Choke, and it's like, this is not going to be good. Darian and I had a decent day that first day, but Ben's like, hey, in the morning, I'm going back to Ivy. And we get a text. Now I'm at 35 pounds and I broke the lake record smallmouth. And we're like, put it on the trailer. Put it on the trailer. We're going there. We're going there now.
Oh my God.
Go there we did.
It was epic.
Dude,
it was
amazing.
Incredible. We hit it just at the right time. And the cool thing was, what's coolest for me is we're constantly traveling all around the country. And we really truly went to a place that we didn't know was this good, and we kind of found the bite ourselves. And since then, of course, there's been 400 or 500 boats every day, it sounds like, at the lake, and that's fine.
Sure.
I get why people do that, but it's cool to have it to yourself. So it was fun to find that.
This lake, this is what I've said to some locals. It's remote, right, Ben? I mean, it's fair to say. Like, there's nothing. There's not a Holiday Inn Express. There's not restaurant. There's nothing out there. Like, you got to be a fish head to want to go to this place.
Yeah,
it's in a very remote. We drove from Choke Canyon. It was 4 hours. It's not close to any big city. It's a long ways from like San Antonio, Abilene, and that's probably the reason. Other than I talked to Mercer and I talked to Texas Parks and Wildlife. They stocked 1.1 million Florida strains in this thing.
What?
From like 2010 to now. And they told us when we talked to them that they see that ShareLunker deal is about 10 years when they start seeing them. So this lake had super low water from talking to and I think Ben heard that too, like super low water, like 50 feet low just a few years ago. Now it's back up, dude. It's one of the healthiest fisheries. I mean, bait wise, Ben will tell you, there's fish like bait fish everywhere on Live Scope. You're seeing them. Ben, tell them about what these fish were eating though. Like what you got dialed in on. That was the. Do you want to talk about that? The forage choice.
Oh, I want to hear about it.
What about it, Luke? You mean like just the swim bait type deal, or what?
No. Like what we were hanging out of their throats on a few of them.
Yeah, man. There was like baby carp out of their mouth. There was shad, and they're all big. Yeah. They were eating. I mean, you could see balls of little bait grouped up, but almost every single super fat fish, the majority of fish, would have a giant forked tail sticking out their throat, and pulled a couple.
Wow.
And they had like 9 to 12 inch like baby carp,
golden scales, crazy dude.
Yeah, it was weird.
Wow,
crazy.
Very cool.
This is a big baiters lake. That's their dream lake, really, is what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for Ben and I, we can never go back. So
yeah, probably not.
And here's my problem. I didn't catch a 16-pounder. No, I did take part in the melee, but I host a podcast. And so talking about it on the podcast got me way more involved with the threats than catching the bass. It really escalated quickly at that point with a lot of Texans. I am scared of. Texans are scared. Understandable.
Now, what lake records were set? I saw multiple lake records. Walk me through who set the record, who's got broken by what, like what on earth went down in those few days?
It was crazy. Weird stuff happened. So, okay, here's the easy one. Joe caught the 16.4. That's the lake record largemouth bass. The 4 days before we got there, a guy caught the lake record smallmouth, which was like 5'8" or no, 6'2". It was 5'8", and then he caught it was like 6'2". And then
there's smallmouth in Texas. Who knew?
Who knew?
Yeah. Okay, that's another thing. They're big. That's another thing. These fish might not be actual smallmouth, but I don't know. So I caught a smallmouth the first day on the single swimmer, and I didn't know it was a smallmouth, which I've caught a lot of smallmouth, and I didn't even know it was one because it looked like a largemouth. It was green, but it had different weird markings. It was kind of hard to explain. I think that there's some type of hybrid, but whenever largemouth and smallmouth or spots and smallmouth or any bass species or any species of fish hybridizes, they don't get that big. And so it's weird that they were that big. So we send the group message out with holding 4 or 5 bass out, and several people were like, that's a smallmouth right there. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't even think about it. What an idiot. But the one I had caught the first day was only about 6 pounds. So it was close to the lake record. So then we go back there and I catch one, and I'm like, everyone's been telling me these are smallmouth. I looked at the guy's picture that just set the record. It said it's smallmouth. I'm like, this has got to be what people are considering a smallmouth. It looked, you guys have to see the pictures. They just look different. It's hard to explain.
Yeah, I saw Luke's too.
Yeah. And so I catch that one, and it's 6'6", and this was the second to the last, or the second to last day I was there. I was like 6'6", so I took it in, got it, whatever, took it to the marina, and he weighed it. And I figured, I was like, this is going to get broken instantly. And so this fish had like a big black spot, very defined spot on it. And so fucking Luke the next day goes back in the same spot, catches the same fish.
So I'm like, this is
It already gained weight.
Listen. So I had no idea. Ben had told me about this area. I go in there and there's a school way out from where a lot of the 6 Cents guys have been fishing in this area. And there was a school that Darian and I found the first day. Wind was howling like, you remember how bad it was blowing that day, man? I was just stupid trying to even look for them on live scope.
Yep.
But there was this bunch of fish out off of this island way out from these flooded bushes on this clean break. And it looked like Tennessee. I kept saying, dude, that's like Tennessee River stuff. Like the cover ends and then there was a drop and they were just dotted up all down in a live scope. It was crazy. And we caught like 25 pounds out of it, all largemouth, but never could really fish them good. Darian and I started on another place with Casey, the owner of 6 Cents, on another place that Ben, I think it's actually where the 16 came from, Ben. We started on another place and Darian and I got way out off of it again, found some fish that weren't really on this underwater point, and we had 30 pounds in like an hour and a half. The biggest one was like a 710, and I boat flipped it, and I was actually watching the footage today. Boat flipped it, and we're just like, yeah, it's just another 7. Like it's that stupid. Like it spoiled you that fast at how many over 4 pounds you were catching. We were catching doubles, and like when you got the rig around one, you caught one. I couldn't catch them on a single swimmer like Ben did. But that day we were fixing to go home. We caught 30 pounds. We shot a cool video. We're happy. We got to drive 13 hours home. And we stopped on that spot, on that island. And I said, dude, the wind's not blowing today. I want to look at this school again. We pull in there and they're everywhere. And there were some giants. So on the clip, you hear me say, dude, my rig's coming by an absolute monster right now. Couldn't get them to bite. Well, on that cast, and the clip was, I was actually showing it to Fat Cat down here today. On that cast, my rig was in the water for like 5 minutes. I keep free spooling, letting it go back down because so many of them are following it over and over and over. And of course, you're watching it all play out on live scope, and they get really close to the boat and they end up following it down almost vertically, right? And they're just going crazy, but they won't eat it. And I'm literally just sitting here like this, and I'm laughing the whole time, like, dude, they won't eat. I'm talking to Darian, and then all of a sudden, rod loads up. And it fought harder than anything we had caught up to a 710 largemouth. And I'm freaking out. I said, dude, this is over 10. Like, this is finally, we've hooked one of these giants. Then it gets close to the boat. And I'm like, well, that's not a 10 pounder, but I'm like, dude, grab it. As Darian brings it over the side, I said, dude, that's a smallmouth. Like, and he looks at me, he's like, and you can see the bars on its face. We never pay any attention to this black spot. We weigh it, and it weighs a little over 6. And I'm like, dude, what was Ben's? And he's like, going back and looking, he's like, 6'6", dude, I've been on certified scales. Like, I bet that's the lake record. So we're going crazy. We drop it in the box. Darian texts the group, dude, I think we're going to break Ben's record. Ben's like, screw you guys. He was back in Nebraska already. He's mad. Darian snapped a couple quick pics. We're headed back to the ramp to go certify this thing. Darian goes, dude, this is the same bass that Ben caught. I'm like, no way. He goes, Luke, look at this picture. So he's like already got them pulled up side by side. I'm like, there's no way that fish bit 2 days in a row, dude. Or I think they were 2 days apart.
Yeah, 2 days apart.
There's 2 days apart. Like, there's no way. So I stopped the boat, get her out of the live well, and look again. I'm like, oh my God. I started looking at the spot, zooming in on Ben's picture, put her back in the live well, take her. She weighs 6'8". 2 ounces more on the certified scales. So I broke Ben's record with his fish.
And then,
where did you release it?
Yeah, I should have flayed it.
You should have.
Stuffed it, put it on your wall.
Yeah, that's good.
Darian and I was going to release her back on that spot because obviously she likes it, right? Well, we're going back out that way, and I look, and there's a boat sitting there. Darian goes, hey, bro, we got to go back to Alabama and Tennessee. Release that sucker right here because that guy might catch her. So we released the fish a long ways from where she was caught. So I don't know. But now it's been broken again. What, a 7?
Yeah, so Zach from 6 Cents the next day caught a 7.4 and didn't weigh it or anything, which
didn't certify it.
Way bigger. than ours, and it's like the fifth biggest smallmouth ever caught in Texas history.
Yeah.
By the way.
Wow.
And then the next day or 2 days later, a guy caught a 767 or something smallmouth, and that's like the third biggest bass in Texas history.
Oh my God.
Clearly there's state record largemouth and smallmouth in this lake, and I mean, you start talking about that. I mean, state record Texas bass is at 18.18 or something. I mean, you're only 3.5 pounds off the world record.
Not far.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Not far.
Wow.
I would have never thought. The craziest thing for me is, like Ben said, he's caught smallmouth all over the place. And when Darian actually found on the drive, he's like, dude, OH has got smallmouth in it. Check this out. And it was the new lake record. He had found it on the same thread that Ben's 16 was on. And it didn't look like a smallmouth. You know, it was just strange looking. And mine, what was crazy, she was really bleached out when she came in the boat, really green. And as she got warmed up, though, in the boat, those colors came out. And she started looking, like, especially when we got to certify her, she looked like a smallmouth to me.
Right.
Way more after we got to the scale. Like bars on the face, very defined. The lines, very, very defined. But if you would ever told me a Tennessee river rat would catch his personal best smallmouth, same one that Ben Milliken catches, that's a lake record. It would be in Texas. I would tell you, you're lying. You know.
Yeah, that's crazy. What an insane trip. So I want to go to the
Luke,
rig.
do you feel like that was sloppy seconds? Or are you still cool?
I think the scale was just messed up. Couldn't have been actually more than mine.
BTC, you know me real well. Like, I don't have any shame. Like, I was put on this earth to do one thing. Well, run my mouth, but two things. Bass have absolutely broken my heart a lot of times when big money's been on the line. So any chance I get to get back at them and just catch them, I don't care how it goes.
That's right.
Right? You know, they still got a bite. And Ben he figured out the deal. He got us all lined up down there. Hey, this is what you're looking for. And he told me, he's like, dude, if you're good with your live scope, which I've been fortunate enough to fish with live scope for the last, 3 years, he's like, you'll catch a PB, dude. Like, if you're good with it, and it was automatic when you found them.
How big's that lake that you guys were on?
20,000 acres.
Yeah,
20,000. Okay.
Not that big.
So take me to the rig. So obviously, Ben caught him on 6-pound test and a single swimmer, which that's really rad, especially 30-pound plus bags on that. But the rig seemed like it was a big factor. We're here in really cold water. You guys are putting those rigs through the paces. I mean, it sounds like fish were just biting all day and big ones testing your tackle. That's what I want to talk about. You guys absolutely put your tackle and gear to the test. Our main tackle that we fish with as bass fishermen, it's not even built for 8-pounders. 6 to 8-pounders will absolutely do you over. And you guys are catching 6-pound smallmouth and 10, 11, 12, 16-pound largemouth. Did you guys learn anything when it came to your gear with the rig? And, talk to me about that.
Yeah, 100%, man. I mean, I've fished the A-rig for a long time, but I mean, the best day I've probably had was a 15 to 20 fish day. And I was also fishing for a max out of, a 6 or 7 or 8-pounder, best case scenario. When you're out there and you're catching 3 to 7-pounders every 5 minutes, and then you have the opportunity to catch a 15 to 20-pound bass, you can't have things fail. And all these rigs fail. And so, it was scary at times. And so I put my stuff through the ringer quite a bit as far as the rigs go. And I throw it on 65-pound braid. A lot of guys throw fluoro, and it's something I need to experiment more with fluoro. And maybe that would give me some more of these 10+ pounders to bite. But the components are absolutely huge. The two that I used, my big one that I've always used is the Hog Farmer, the 5-wire 8-blade. And that thing, I think Hog Farmer, they're made in the US. They're a really great product. They're great quality components. And it's more of a bubba rig to me, where you're going to throw it for the bigger fish, and it's not natural looking, and you need them to be eating the A-rig, or they're not going to eat this thing, because it looks, the wires are thick gauge wire. big swivels, big everything, big blades.
So it's made for that braid.
Big clevises. It's made for catching giant fish. Hog farmers on Lake Chickamauga, and obviously when the whole A-rig craze went down, there was so many 10 to 15 pound bass caught on that thing that they had to create something that was really, really tough. And then the other one I used, a Frenzy Lures or something, I think it's called. It's a northern company, and it's a tiny, tiny rig. The whole thing's only about this big around. 5 wires, 4 blades on it, and we ran teasers actually the entire time. We never put 5 hooks on. We just had 3 hooks and 2 teasers. Funny story though, when I caught the first, so after the second morning, I guess it would be when we caught the big limit, we want to do something different because we're making this content, and I was like, one of us should try a double chandelier rig. I was like, screw it, this will be funny. Let's throw this on. And so I was like, Joe, do you want to throw it or do you want me to throw it? And he's like, I want to throw it. Screw it, I'll throw it. And this is how we started that giant limit. And so I was like, okay. And so I'm digging around, tying baits on, and I got a couple rigs, and you know how long it takes to tie up an Alabama rig.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And finally get it all done, and I tie it up on his rod. I'm like, dude, you got to let me throw it for a couple casts because I spent all this time tying it on. I just want to see what it looks like in the water. So I fired it out to the first cast, and I get bit instantly. And like twice in the cast, the fish misses it. I was like, okay, this thing's legit. And so I fired out there again, and I'm like, wow, that looks like a giant. And just crushed it, bow up on it, and it's a 12-pounder. It's the biggest bass I've ever caught by 3 pounds. And it blew my mind. And after that, of course, he had to have it and used it. But he caught a bunch of fish on it too, and it seemed like better quality. And so when legal, like it was there, I think you got to experiment going bigger and bigger to maybe target some of these bigger fish. So
wow.
Is that what
and you only could use 3 hooks. So where did you put the hooks on that big chandelier?
So you can use 5 in Texas. We were only using 3 to make it easier. But definitely on the back rig, on the bottom, in the middle. So 2 on the bottom, 1 in the middle had hooks on it. And like 95+% of the time, I feel like that's where you get bit on them. These are fish that are seeing something go up over their head, and then they are coming up behind it and tracking the entire rig. I've seen very few scenarios where they eat a teaser.
Is that what he caught the 16 on, the double rig?
No, he actually broke that off, of course. And so he actually
$90 down the drain.
Exactly. Yeah, he caught it on a single rig, 3 hooks still. But,
how'd he break it off? Snag?
Oh yeah. So like Luke was saying, the lake was down, and so when it was down, this is a special thing about the lake. I feel like the entire thing in 25 feet of water and shallower has this bush line underwater, and they come about 5 feet off the bottom. And so these fish were kind of cruising the edge and sitting right on top of the bushes, and then of course out randomly chasing bait too. But we were fishing the edge of that bush line a lot on these giant main lake. The most prominent main lake points and islands drop off at the mouth of spawning areas.
What amazed me about that, what Ben's talking about, that bush line, is I don't know how you would have done it without electronics. You know, there's all these debates about electronics and in fishing, and I know, is it good, is it bad? Because I think a lot of these fish have never been targeted really, but with live scope in those bushes, it was crazy. You could turn it one way and you just see the bush line, right? And then you kick it back another way, and then all of a sudden it gives you a little different view, and you just see all these blobs, and they're in it, and they're moving around. And then you come back this way, and they're kind of camouflaged, they're hidden. But you could take that rig and watch it, so you could get it right to the top of those bushes, bring it right over. If you didn't have that live scope, you would stay hung up the entire time. You would stay, because just trying to let, think of it like a grass line. You let your bait fall, and you're just ticking the top of it. Well, you would snag those bushes every time. But with live scope, you could watch it, feather it down, let it get to the top. They would come up and get it. Now, if you could ever find a little, dip in those bushes to let it drop down in there, you'd get bit. I actually caught a lot more of mine on that open stuff like Ben's talking about, where it made a hard edge, and then there was a drop. That's where I found most of them. And I only had 2 rigs with me in the boat, and I was really nervous about losing them. And Darian broke one off at the end of the first day. So then it was like, of course he did. Right. Of course he did. The thing that about my tackle, we're both with 6 cents. I throw single swimmers on the Tennessee River a ton in the current. Love throwing swim baits for smallmouth and largemouth. And the Divine swim bait head is something that I've really became a believer in like the last 3 or 4 years. But throwing that rig on 65-pound braid on a 7-Eleven flipping stick, that I was planning on punching at Choke Canyon with, basically, and then throwing this rig on it, and I boat flipped everything. Other than the 6'8" smallmouth, Darian did bear hug it, but I flipped a 7'10" largemouth in the boat on that thing. Nice. And nothing ever gave, man. Nothing ever gave. Those hooks, nothing on those swim bait heads bent out at all. But I will say the one thing I've noticed on a rig after catching all those fish, it's like Ben said about the hog farmer. It's real beefed up. I was throwing a Flash Mob Junior just because that's what I had in the boat, the young one. And the snaps, man. The snaps are what will get you in that scenario. Like when you get hung and you go to get it off, the snaps are what give. When you hook a big fish and you get them in, a lot of times that's where that plays at. And I know Ben had a picture of when Zark caught the 16 and the snaps are just, everywhere. That's what gives the, first on those rigs for sure.
Yep.
So have you, I know that you might not have gotten into it this deep. Have you guys caught wind of anybody or done this yourself, like replacing with more powerful snaps or anything like that? Obviously, the hog farmer one sounds like they're building with some pretty stout snaps and components.
So, for sure. So that's one thing. You don't have to worry about that with the hog farmer one, but I was doing it as I went. As soon as I saw any type of failure with the snaps, just swapping them immediately. I make chatterbaits and stuff as I go, and so I keep a bunch of components with me, and I was grabbing them off my chatterbait blades and throwing them on there and stuff like that. But we're actually working on one right now for 6 cents. It's going to have some really high quality components on it too. So
that question came across YouTube from Be Kind Rewind. You want to know if 6 cents had one coming out? So had a feeling. That's cool.
Yeah. All right, so I want to ask one more question before we go to our guys on the message board. But what was the key swim bait? What was the key color? There's a lot of swim bait fish.
Yeah, so I caught every single one of mine on the A-rig on that 6 cents Divine swim bait. It comes in 3.3, 3.8, and 4.3, I think. But I use the 3.2s as teasers and the 3.8s on the hooks. And that swim bait, a lot of people are confused by it when they get it because it's a lot harder material than like a Kitech or like a Spark Shad or something like that. And so by itself, it doesn't have quite as natural of a flow on just a jig head on a little supernatural jig head like that. But when you put it on a rig, which naturally, when you have the wires on the rig, you have everything else working against it, that impedes so much of the action of that swim bait. But that harder material kicks and thumps so much harder. It's why I like it as a swim jig trailer too, because it really pulses the head of the swim jig because you just can't impede the action of it. It almost makes the whole rig kind of vibrate. And so that's what I use the entire time. And as the trip kind of went on, I was using that single swimmer too, and I was throwing on a 1/4 ounce jig head with the 3.2 size. And I really caught a lot of key fish on that as well, that you'd pull a rig by them and it would suck them in a little bit. And repeatedly, as long as they didn't fall all the way to the boat and they were further out, I put the rig down immediately, threw that single swim bait out there with the little 3.2 Divine, and caught some 8-pounders doing that too. So
wow. That's really interesting that you brought that up because that harder material. So I don't throw the rigs a lot really. But I've got some buddies who are over in the Carolinas and they're throwing rigs a lot. Like, I'm not going to say their names, but like they talk about that harder material swim bait being a deal. Like one of them swears by Berkeley Power Swimmers over Kitechs. And it's not just the fact that you're going to catch way more bass off of them, but that harder material acts differently on a rig than that thing. So I think you're really onto something there. That's
another thing.
That's some really good insight.
Screw lock on the 6 cents swim bait head makes a huge difference. I literally, the last day I was there, I think I caught over 50 fish, and I did not switch a swim bait at all. I caught them all on the same swim baits. And by the end of it, the only thing from the swim bait, you know how they get on a jig head, the only thing hanging on was the screw lock. The rest of the swim baits were hanging off the hook. But the screw lock it'll save you so much money. And the swim baits are like a 6-pack for $4.99 or something. They're cheap anyway. So it was badass.
Yeah, that's awesome. Rich, I'm sure we've got questions.
Yep. Were you guys throwing these rigs with weedless heads at any point when you were fishing around the cover? And that came from Hog Snatching in Oklahoma.
I can promise you I would have been if I didn't have Panoptics, because like Luke said, it's absolutely key. You have to be able to watch that bait, make contact with the bush line almost, and then start to retrieve. And if we didn't have that, then I would have lost so many baits. Honestly, I probably would have got discouraged and stopped throwing it.
Absolutely, dude. That's a great point. Like just getting frustrated in that situation, especially in the wind or anything. Like I did as soon as we got there. I lost one of the only rigs I brought. I had a buddy of mine from East Tennessee makes this. He calls it a stealth rig. And I lost it first cast. First cast. I'm like, oh, okay, it's going to go like this, But without technology, you wouldn't be able to see that, man. It definitely makes a difference. But a weedless head would have been nice, for sure.
Yeah.
And Top of the River wants to know, are there any off-the-wall type of soft plastics that you guys ever use on swim baits?
On
an A-rig?
Yeah, on an A-rig rather. I'm sorry. Like different kind of soft plastic designs that normally wouldn't be thought of as to be thrown on an A-rig.
Not for me. Nope. Swim bait every time.
The only thing I've ever done, and this was right when the A-rig first came out, and this actually, Darian and I were talking about this the other day. Andy Potts, the guy that invented the Alabama rig, his number one thing was a watermelon grub. He would throw 5 watermelon grubs on Pickwick Lake a lot. So I have done that and caught fish in the tail race on it. But most of the time, like Ben said, I'm throwing a Divine Swimmer most of the time.
That's interesting, Luke. I remember when the A-rig, when Elias did his whole deal, me and my team partner had a Georgia State team championship, like 300, 250 boats, the next weekend. And somehow, some way, we got our hands on like 3 Alabama rigs. And I mean, dude, I didn't even have many swim baits. I was still kind of green, and I took some Fat Alberts and put those grubs on that 5. I mean, this is years ago, but dude, I caught 4 spotted bass for 12 pounds on one cast, like on the Fat Alberts.
What?
Wow.
Yeah, that was back in the flip phone days. That picture was on the flip phone.
How about that? We had Shane Leineberger on, Shane LaHue, talking about his A-rigs just, I don't know, a month ago. And he said one thing he does do is once in a while he'll put a chatterbait on that back spot. I've done that before, just kind of fooling around. Have you guys ever messed with that?
Nope, haven't done it, but I did think of it when I heard that show.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah, it just shakes the whole rig a little bit.
I have, like you were just talking about, I've experimented. I'm starting to get into it quite a bit more, throwing a flashy swimmer. And so I know it's still a swim bait, but I think there's a huge scenario where you need a weedless rig, grass lines, standing timber, stuff like that, where it absolutely makes sense. And throwing it on braid, I've had a really good hookup ratio, even with the flashy swimmers. And then you're just adding more flash and more draw power. It doesn't seem to hurt the bite as well. So something I'm definitely going to experiment with a lot more.
Pretty cool, man.
Yeah, that is cool.
Hey, before we let you go, you guys got what's your best death threat you've gotten from this so far?
Go ahead, Luke.
No, I haven't really, it's not been death threats. It's just people telling me, do not ever come back to Texas. You are not welcome in Texas. I've gotten that one repeatedly. You didn't teach us anything. I actually had a guy in person, and I hear that he's been on some forums saying that this is not how the conversation went, but this is very much how the conversation went, because Darian and I were there together and both heard this. But he was very standoffish with us. And my favorite thing was he goes, He just like slides up behind us in line. We're waiting to pay for our food at this tackle store. He goes, "You guys think you're actually teaching us something out here?" I'm like, "What?" Well, I mean, I don't think that, sir, at all, and I'm just trying to get out of there. And he's like, "I know everything about this. Like, you guys, you out of town guys, you're not teaching us anything. Not anything." And I said, "Well, how many 16 pounders have you guys caught lately? Because my buddy broke the record. And how many 6.5 pound smallmouth?" So, I mean, obviously we figured something out, because I can't help myself. I have to say something.
We just caught 48
Imagine
pounders.
that.
Yeah,
Imagine that.
But most of them have been just, "Do not ever come back here. You are not welcome."
Yeah, that's what I've been getting to. And the crazy thing is, if that wasn't for the marina guy and the share lunker program posting the lake, I haven't said a single time on any of my videos where we were at. We reshot, once we figured out what was in that lake, we reshot the intros of the video to not show the boat ramp or anything. But once that got out there, word got out. But let me tell you guys something that you don't know is this is not a magic lake. This is not the only lake that is like this, and this isn't even that special of a lake. Obviously there's incredible fish, but we targeted these fish in a way that they hadn't been targeted before. And I have verification from a buddy that is extremely good, also with this forward facing technology, that there are at least 2 other lakes that are as good or better that he has already been to, and within a couple hours of that. And it was the first time he's been to that lake, first time he's been to these other 2 lakes. There's so many lakes that just haven't been targeted in this manner. OH Ivy is a great lake, obviously. And it's incredible what the Texas Fish and Wildlife has done, and I appreciate them so much for it. But there's 5 or 6 lakes as good as that within 3 or 4 hours or better, I think. So for everyone watching this that's planning their trip to go to OH Ivy and try to get there at 3 a.m. so you can find a place to park at the boat ramp, maybe go try to find something on your own, because there's a lot of good fisheries with really big fish that you're not going to have to compete with 400 other boats in the water with.
Report
Well
change.
said.
Truth. Yep. Good stuff, man.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Anything else, Rich?
Yeah,
Rich,
I got another question we can go to. Was there anything really unique about the retrieve that you guys were using at like any point in the day? Did one way that you're bringing these baits in really trigger those bigger bites?
So the biggest thing for me was that I figured out, and I've been doing them for a couple of years now with the A-rig, that a lot of guys struggle with. They're like, "Oh, we need to throw it on braid. Cool, I'll grab my flipping stick and my flipping reel and everything, my 8-speed reel, and I'll go out there and catch them on it." But you can really see with Panoptics, you have to have, or at least you should have, a slow gear ratio reel. That's not necessarily the retrieve, but it's so important. I throw it on a 6-speed reel. If you have it on a 7 or even an 8-speed reel, you turn that reel handle once, and you can watch on Panoptics, your whole rig goes right up away from those fish.
Yeah.
If you have it on a 5 or 6-speed reel, I mean, it's absolutely key to have that to keep your rig running straight, because we're not fishing 5 feet of water. We're fishing 20 to 30 feet of water, 50 or even deeper than that a lot of times. I always, I'm reeling it in. If I got one trailing it, I'll give it a quick half turn of the reel, and that makes the whole thing pulse, the whole rig. That triggers a lot of bites. It didn't trigger them as much as it usually does at this lake when I was watching them, but yeah, man, that slow gear ratio reel is a big deal with it.
Yeah, I'll echo that. Slower the better. That's what I've noticed with live scope. You can get in a hurry with an A-rig, and I think that's where I've messed up over the years. On days that I haven't caught them on it as good, I've been working it too fast. But like I said, on that smallmouth I caught in particular, the video clip is like 8 minutes from my cast to us freaking out over the fish. But on the retrieve, my bait was in the water for almost 5 minutes, and I kept free spooling the bait, letting it fall back into them. They were chasing it, but I actually ended up catching that fish hopping the bait, and I caught several like that on the trip. They would get keyed in on it, and it's like Ben said, either flaring it or just hopping it real fast like a jig almost up off the bottom, and then they would just load up. A lot of them like that, but slow. Even the suspended ones, I caught a lot of fish on the bottom, but the suspended ones that you would mark way out there, you get your line on them, let the rig get to them. You couldn't get in a hurry. You had to just make sure it stayed on the path they were on and just steady bring it by them. Now, sometimes I think Ben would agree with this. Sometimes you throw it near one and you'd see them they'd make a charge at it. They would get interested in it in that clear water, you know, but most of the time it was just, and all the videos you'll notice it's just steady, man, just steady, not getting in a hurry. And that's where most of your body, but I mean, the water is also, when I was there 43 to 45, it had warmed up a little bit from when Ben was there. That's cold water, man. Super cold.
No, Luke, what's your history with the Alabama rig? Ben kind of told us what kind of experiences he's had with it. Now, were you on tour when that A rig was kind of making its way in the FLW days, or?
I was not. So the year all craziness broke loose with Paul with that, I actually owned a couple rigs because living right there at Pickwick, where Andy Poss was from, they had them hanging up on like these little wooden dowels at tackle stores around it. Everybody's like, what the heck's that thing? You know, but had a couple of them. And when that broke loose, my dad and I were fishing a lot of team stuff at the time, you know, we're like, yeah, this is going to be the deal. And in the tail race of Wheeler Dam and Wilson Dam on Wilson and Pickwick Lakes, I've never seen anything like it. For like the first 2 years, I have truly, nothing will ever compare to that. I mean, other than this Ivy trip, but I'm talking about when you went and you got on a current seam, drifting that thing, when you got a bite, it was over 5 pounds. I mean, I was in the boat for a 7.4 smallmouth. My dad caught on it the first year that it came out. I mean, it was a freak show, man. But my experience with it was more in the current, and still is. So this was other than one lake. I've got one lake that I will refuse to name that's close to my house. It's a Tennessee State lake. I use it a lot there in the wintertime, and it's all suspended largemouth that suspend under bait 30 to 40, 50 feet deep. And since live scope, I've really gotten tuned in to that. And I've noticed, for whatever reason, I don't know why they key in on that big rig in the wintertime when the water's so cold. I really don't, instead of a single swimmer. But it's fascinating to watch them.
Wow.
Like, they won't even react to a single swimmer 10 casts in a row a lot of times, and then you throw that thing in there one time and they just wake up almost, you know. So got a lot of experience with it, but I've never seen anything like that, like we saw.
So I gotta ask, I see we have a new guest joining us. What's his name, Ben?
This is Osborne.
What's up, Osborne? That's awesome. Luke, I got to take you back to the current there. You were talking about drifting. So is this like, because I've got a little tail race experience, okay? Not a lot. I've caught one of them big smallmouth in the All-American back in like 14 on a single swimmer. You're throwing an Alabama rig in the current and letting the current just wash it, scrubbing those rocks and everything.
Yeah.
Sounds like a fast way to lose an Alabama rig.
It is. The key to it for me, though, if you are drifting those seams, is not to throw up current, right? Because you're going to stay hung. It's to make casts parallel, like to the right of the boat, but keep in contact with that rig as you drift. It's the same thing with a single swimmer. Right. Absolutely the same thing. I think we filmed some for Bass U up there. If you throw up current, you are dead. You are done. You are going to lose every head you throw, I don't care what it is. You're going to lose it. If you throw up and drift backwards, you're just begging for it at that point. So I try to get lined up and make cast with the boat the entire time. If it starts getting below the boat, I reel it in. You don't want to throw it too far up, even at like a 45 in that situation. But yeah, it's a nightmare. That's what I love. It's like Ben said about those trees. Had you not had live scope, you would have broken off a couple times. You got frustrated. You would have never caught those fish because you would have left. That's my favorite thing about tail race fishing, because people that come in from out of town or aren't used to that kind of fish, they get so frustrated. Dude, you'll go through $50 in swim bait heads really fast, really, really fast, and they'll pull out, and head somewhere else. Like, the heck with it, but it's worth the frustration.
It was worth it.
It was worth it.
It was worth it.
On a dang Tuesday.
Yeah, and for all you And for all you guys that want to hear more about what Luke's talking there, he is, I think you're the only video on Bash U TV talking about tail race fishing that we filmed. And he talks about the angles and retrieves that he just touched. You can get a lot more info there. It doesn't matter. It's not what we're about on Bash U TV. We're just trying to show the goods, and he gave them up. But,
yeah, we did that day for sure.
Yep. 28 degrees outside.
We got who the heck was it? The musky bites or something. He says he makes his own A-rigs, and he'll put a split ring on the front of it and a chatterbait blade on the front of the A-rig.
Ooh.
Cool.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
It's interesting.
Okay. Yeah, does sound interesting. And
lots of things you can do with that.
And the Gunmaster on YouTube says he likes to be outdoors. He just wants to let us know. Me too, buddy. He's hanging out with us tonight. But yeah, speaking of not catching fish, you guys, Luke, I told you, JK, I fished with Mike this past weekend. Did a little pre-fishing, looking at some water he's got coming up, and yeah, it was tough, man. It was all about that not catching fish life. It was pretty awesome.
It sounded like a good time.
Wasn't a great. Actually, it was a good time. Could have been a great time, but it was a good time. But yeah, we didn't catch nothing. So, woo,
sometimes it'd be like that.
That's right. It happens. But it was good to be outdoors.
It's always good to be outdoors.
It's always good to be outdoors, and it was good to be outdoors. Man, I think that's about it. JK, what do you got? I got 10 after 9.
Yeah, let's let these guys go.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us, diving into that amazing, ridiculous trip.
Yeah.
Luke, we'll let you answer this first. Tell the people what's the latest with you, where to follow you, where to see you. You got something this weekend as you part from us.
Yeah, I've got National Professional Fishing League live coverage. I'm going to be running my mouth on there with David Dudley in studio. Fat Cat Newton's going to be on the water covering the first ever National Professional Fishing League. And then, of course, YouTube, Luke Duncan's Traveling Circus. I got the Low Budget Live podcast, LD and the MC podcast with Dave Mercer, a bunch of fishing videos. I'm going to have the videos from OHIB. I'm not as good as Ben at all. I don't do uploads quick enough. Everybody will be over this by the time I upload, but I've got some videos coming. Everybody be like, oh, you caught a lake record smallmouth? Oh, it's been beat 17 times since that's how dialed I am to the YouTube live, boys. But give me a sub on there. Luke Duncan's Traveling Circus.
Awesome. Well, we'll be watching, man. We definitely are interested in seeing how this first inaugural event goes. We wish you good luck, and
thank you.
And yeah, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely, boys.
Yeah, I'm pumped for it, man. Can't wait to see it go down. It's gonna be good stuff. It's exciting.
Thank you, BC.
You never know.
And Ben, tell us what's the latest. I know you're posting like every day, but tell the guys where to see you next.
Yeah, Milliken Fishing, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Picking up a new boat tomorrow. I'm switching boat. So that's exciting news. Got some really exciting family news coming. That's going to change a whole lot going on in our future. That's going to be coming in about 3 weeks here. So check in for that. Excited, nervous, busy, craziness as always. Also, definitely check out the NPFL. Seriously, that's going to be incredible. It's so good that you guys are doing that for the sport. I'm excited to see the new people you're going to bring into it, the new platform. The whole industry needs something like that, and so I'm super excited to see that. Huge tournament fishing fan. I'm going to be fishing a lot more tournaments this year. Last year we fished like 12 to 15. This year, hopefully fish some more. So me and this guy will be entering some tournament. No, not yet. Maybe in the future, but yeah, a lot of exciting stuff coming. And good luck, Luke.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. Yeah, make sure you're subbed to that dude's channel. He doesn't need the help, but go sub because his videos, those Texas videos, I mean, his dude Cole, they were absolutely insane. If you haven't watched them, you've missed it. They were nuts. The edits, they're awesome. But that's the hardest working dude I know right there.
Yeah.
Right on.
You're putting up a video on Facebook 7 days a week, dude. That's amazing. That really is, dude. The hustle is real. So,
no doubt.
Good stuff, man.
I have a day in a year almost.
Wow. I appreciate you guys making time for us tonight. I know you guys are both really super busy, and thank you very much, man. Means
Thank
a
you,
lot.
boys.
Thanks, guys. Had a blast.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate y'all.
All right.
Man, the Alabama rig, the umbrella rig. You know, the craziest thing over the last couple weekends is that it played in tournaments and people's fun fishing and stuff. I mean, it's just catching a lot of big fish right now.
Yeah.
And that's why I talked to Shane, and they're going crazy just trying to get enough rigs made. But that's a good time learning about that. What else we got? We got a grand prize question.
Yep, we do. We got a few things to give away. Guys, we got a Facebook like and share going on right now. So if you haven't liked and shared tonight's feed, there's still time. If you enter in, you are going to be getting a chance to win $50 worth of Shane's Baits A-Rigs. It's the hot buzz topic bait right now. So make sure you like and share tonight's feed. Get yourself entered in for a chance to win some of those Shane's Baits A-Rigs. Also, we got the grand prize that we're going to give. We're still going to get queued up here. I'll go ahead and kick that question out now. I don't imagine that it's going to take a terribly long amount of time for our guys to get it because they're pretty dialed in on all this stuff. But the question is, and you got to be specific, when the conditions were cloudy for Michael Harlan, what was his color of choice for the A-Rig? When the conditions were cloudy, what color A-Rig did he go with? So we'll wait to see that across the message board. It probably won't take a real long time. JK, what's your go-to color on an A-Rig for swim bait?
Well, I think it's actually the same color, so I'm not going to say.
Ooh.
And I'll say this, dude. In my co-angler days, now here I've fished like 6 or 7 BFLs as a boater. And in like every single one of them, a co-angler gets in my boat with an A-Rig. Okay. But in my co-angler days, like 40 plus events, I've not weighed one fish in as a co-angler on an A-Rig. Now I've caught some on an A-Rig. I've gone to Dale Hollow. I don't live in a region where I just have a lot of confidence in it. And I know it works. A couple of the coast caught a few fish behind me. I think there's something about that super cold water, and we haven't had water below the 50s. We just finally did this winter, but it's been like 4 years where we had pretty mild winters. So we weren't seeing it. But speaking of that, we keep alluding to Shane LaHue's class on A-Rigs, which will be released later this year. Thursday, he'll talk a little bit about the A-Rigs in this scenario, but pre-spawn clear water fishing with Shane LaHue is next up on Thursday. We'll release that seminar. We got Mike Iaconelli, Keys to Spinnerbait Success. Next week, a remastered, On Water with Bobby Lane, bladed jigs and trailers. And then a Patrick Walters seminar to be released on the 18th. So a lot of fun stuff to be looking out for on Bash UTV there, guys. Do we got the right answer yet?
Nope, we do not have the right answer. So I'm seeing some of the right words, but we got to be specific with this, guys. What color swim bait was Harlan's go-to on cloudy conditions? Be specific with the name of the color. Ooh,
you have to put the letters in the right order.
Ooh,
And
as I say it, I just saw the winner come through, and the winner is Matt G. Matt G. He said French Pearl. French Pearl, that was his go-to color in cloudy conditions. Congratulations, Matt G. You got it.
There you go, Matt G.
French Pearl. That's what we were looking for. Pearl came through a lot, but I needed to see that French in the beginning of it.
Oui.
Oui.
And what did Matt win?
Matt won himself a $100 prize pack to TH Marine. I got some goodies here laid out in front of me. We got a troll jacket. We got a culling system. We got some wave away, a G-Force handle, G-Juice, and we're gonna throw a Bash U official hat in there too.
That's awesome.
Matt G.
Yeah. Hey, while we're at it, I want to, thoughts and prayers go out to our buddy Mark Jeffries. BTL's on hold right now. Mark, the other night, after his high school team won their game, the game that gets them to the championship, all-state championship in Oklahoma, Mark come in the locker room and he slipped and hit his head. They had to, spin in the hospital. They had to helicopter him to a hospital, and he had some serious issues going on. It sounds like things are stable, and Mark can possibly be out of the hospital as soon as Thursday. But it was some pretty serious stuff, and everybody, please keep Mark Jeffries in your thoughts and prayers. It was it's no joke, man.
Yep. And
Pete too.
Yep.
For not showing up tonight. No, I'm just kidding, Pete. It's all good, buddy. Again, guys, BSU member benefits, 40 to 50% off Rapala with the VIP discount, 40% off Flambeau, 30% at Missile Baits, $25 off an American-made Cash and Icon rod or the John Cruz series of Icon rods, 25% off at Gills Gear, 15% at Sea Clear Power. We got 10% off at TH.
Yeah. Hey, I see New York
sick,
Chris.
Man. What's that?
I see New York Chris having a question on the message board. He's saying when them hats available. I'm guessing he's talking about this one. Buddy, go right over to Tackle Warehouse. That's the Tackle Warehouse exclusive hat right now. So we don't have it on the gear page. We don't have it available really anywhere right now except Tackle Warehouse. So you can find our Bash University camo hat at Tackle Warehouse.
That's right.
I got you. What else we got?
Along with a few others.
Yep. We got a Facebook like and share winner. This week, our Facebook like and share winners coming to you from Alto, Michigan. Congratulations, Ed Dyer. You won yourself the Facebook like and share tonight. $50 worth of Shane's Baits. When the world thaws out for you up there in Michigan, I'd imagine that this thing will probably play in some of that clear water. So you got $50 worth of Shane's Baits gear coming your way.
And while you're at it, if you're not a subscriber to Bash U TV, get subscribed. Go watch the Umbrella Rigs class with Mark Zona on the water, talking about how he throws it up in Michigan for those big smallmouth. It's one of his favorites, actually.
Is that right?
So, oh yeah, big ones, big smallies.
Big ones.
Like at the end of the fall, like right when it's about to get too cold and it's about to ice over, it's a big player. And then again, when the ice melts, it's a big player. Yet again, you see it shine in just the most cold fishing conditions. In fact, I bet it would really work ice fishing. Talking about Luke, dropping it down on those fish and then just jigging it up and down. Like, I'm like, why not? We got some ice fishing people. Somebody go test that out. Test that theory out. Go drop a rig through the ice and let's don't see if you don't catch a bass.
The only time I've caught him on the A-rig was dead heat of summer. Yeah. But
the first time I'm going to catch him on an A-rig is Saturday.
Hey, we expect a picture and a post on Bash University social channels when you do.
Okay.
Done
deal.
Who you with?
No, it's solo. It's solo to this point. It's just a Barrington Club tournament. So.
Oh, okay. That's because somebody's got to get that picture. Early morning, rod bent, A-rig.
Yeah.
Come on. Capture it. Somebody seize the moment. JK, dude, great job tonight filling in. Really good job, dude. Well done.
It's fun, man.
Yeah.
It's a podcast, just a bunch of dudes talking about fishing. We love it, right?
That's it. Just a bunch of dudes.
Good stuff.
Yep.
Thanks for letting me go through with it. I really wanted this show to happen. We got the content and the lessons that we wanted out of it, man. I'm blown away by some of the stuff.
Yeah, Michael Harlan was really good, man. A lot of good stuff from him.
Yep.
The kid's
bright young kid, man.
For sure.
Yeah, he's coming.
Yep, for sure. Anything else?
Got nothing. We'll see you guys back next week with another guest.
All right, I'm gonna roll out to a little Aquaview spot, guys. Check it out. Cool new company we're working with, and that's it, man. We'll be back next week. JK, I'll tell you afterwards who I got in mind. Pretty awesome, dude. Super awesome.
Woo!
So hang in there.
Excited.
Talk to you in a second. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Literally a revolution in underwater viewing, Aquaview technology now gives anglers the power to instantly deploy, retrieve, and store camera optics with the mere turn of a reel. The user-friendly Micro Revolution underwater camera series is loaded with essential Aquaview innovations: a crystal clear smartphone-grade LCD, critical on-screen data, including water temp and camera direction, digital video recording, and exclusive integrated camera retrieval system.
If you want to spend more time viewing and fishing and less time messing with a cord, the Aquaview Micro Revolution is the only camera you need. When I want to check a spot fast, I can drop the optics and see what's down there, even in deep water, in seconds. And when I'm done, reel up and start fishing. As simple as your favorite fishing reel, but clear and convenient as your smartphone.
The most advanced yet convenient cameras available, the Aquaview Micro Revolution and Micro Revolution Pro set the new standard in mobile underwater viewing. The thinnest, brightest, most colorful screen, progressive on-screen data and recording technology, and a true revolution in underwater viewing efficiency. The #1 name in underwater cameras, Aquaview helps you discover what's really swimming beneath the surface.